radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Happy Tuesday. Fist bumps all around, my little buddy.
Happy Tuesday, Crudy. What do you want to talk about today?
Well, you know where I'd like to start today?
Oh, there's so many places to start. Where?
Let's do a little Walker bashing.
Hey, seems appropriate.
Hashtag Walker bashing.
Always got time for it.
The man thinks he's newly relevant again, Tom. You know, and not just on the Twitter. First and foremost, a tweet that I know caught your attention. Scott Walker, and, you know, I like to ask and answer the question, what's Wanker tweeting? Well, here's what he tweeted out one day ago. And there were several tweets yesterday, including a youthful picture of Walker from 1971 helping Mama wash the dishes. But here's the one I think that's going to bother you, my little buddy. Wanker tweeted, in Wisconsin, we turned a $3.6 billion budget deficit into a surplus. Now, I'm happy to lead the national efforts to get to a balanced federal budget. More than anything, I'm doing it for my kids. Matt and Alex.
Oh, no. First of all, ladies and gentlemen, you can verify whether or not this is true. The Wisconsin Department of Administration, which, of course, was run by Republicans for many years, but they put out their audits. You can go back and look and see what the deficits were. They're called the CAFR reports. And they also use them, use gap accounting and adjustment to kind of get an idea. Nowhere in any report submitted publicly, you can look, you can go click on some links if you're so inclined. Did Scott Walker eliminate a $3.6 billion budget deficit? It is factually non-existent.
You seemingly give a lot of time and thought to the fact that
saying
you didn't know Scott Walker was a liar before now.
But these little things are important, and this guy's been saying this forever. We have audio of Republican legislators refuting that number. Dale Coenga, congressman now, but former state senator, your buddy Grothman, also said, "Oh, it's a little bit of a exaggeration."
Dominic, I like to call him Glenn. Here's another one from the Wankinator on the Twitter stream. If the CBO's projections hold steady, we'll see trillion-dollar interest payments in 5 to 10 years, which will account for approximately 25% of federal revenue. Yet Congress has proved unable to rein in its spending.
Wasn't Congress run by Republicans?
Paul Ryan, his buddy until very recently.
I'm just saying, what about the Republicans? What about the deficits since Donald Trump, who inherited a roaring economy, you know, the Scott Walker economy, that Donald Trump has inherited, and we're still running trillion-dollar deficits? What about that, Walker?
That doesn't count. It's Congress's fault because the Dems now lead Congress.
Oh, okay.
Here's another one, Dom. Where Washington has failed, again, the Wankinator's Twitter stream, where Washington has failed, the states must step up and lead, using their constitutional authority to solve the problem. You know, it's almost like he's building up to something.
Oh, yeah. Seems like
he got a new honorary job. Here's another one, Dom, and this one shares an article from the Washington Post. And who knew that Scott Walker was relevant enough to merit an article in the Washington Post? We'll get there in a minute, but here's the lead-in. Here's the retweet from the Wankinator. You have to balance your budget at home. Small businesses have to balance their budgets to survive.
Let me guess, kitchen table.
State governments have to balance their budgets, you know, at least on a cash basis. Why shouldn't the federal government have to balance its budget? Well, Dom, I don't know if you know this, but Scott Walker's got a new job. He's a crusader for a balanced budget amendment via the Constitutional Convention. A crusader, I tell you, Dom.
Oh, no.
He's on a mission from God.
Oh, no.
Or perhaps it's Grover Norquist and the Koch brothers.
So what is it? So Scott Walker's continued lie in the state of Wisconsin that he solved a $3.6 billion budget deficit qualifies him to what? Support the right-wingers in calling for a convention of the states to address a balanced budget amendment? And what about everything else?
Dominic James Holman at the Washington Post reporting, the big idea. Scotty Wanker will chair a nonprofit group that aims to enact a federal balanced budget amendment by convincing state legislatures to call for a new constitutional convention. Yeah, let's open up that Pandora's box. The Republican is stepping back onto the national stage after he was narrowly defeated in his quest for a third term as governor of Wisconsin. He left office in January after signing controversial legislation to limit the powers of his successor during a lame duck session. Born in 1967, my bad, Walker is only 51. We definitely haven't heard the last of him.
Oh, no. Yes, please, God.
And he's being strategic about how he spends these years in the wilderness. Lots of long walks in the woods with Hillary Clinton done. Here's a quote from the Wankinator, I presume. What I was looking at was stuff I could do that's mission-oriented, he said in an interview last night. There's a lot of business opportunities out there, but not for you, sir. You haven't worked in the private sector since 1993, and running the register at a McDonald's doesn't exactly qualify you for much.
That's probably the last time he balanced anything was the drawer.
Dominic, there's a lot of business opportunities out there. Nothing wrong with that. But I was looking for things that were really consistent with what I worked on as a governor.
Oh, having some trouble in the private sector, are you, former Governor Walker?
Oh, Dom, but there are so many opportunities. His palette teeming with a plethora of opportunities.
Hell,
I feel quite confident.
Just go on the state job site, right? There's 80, 90, 100,000 jobs available out there for you, Walker. Why can't you go to the private sector?
Would you say I have a plethora?
Yes, I would.
Again, reading from the Holman piece at the Washington Post, that led him, Scotty Wanker, to accept the new role with the Center for State-Led National Debt Solutions, a 501c3 nonprofit. Under Article 5 of the Constitution, a new convention can be held to amend the founding document if two-thirds of the states request one. That's 34 states. It's an improbable push. No one has ever used this mechanism, though many have tried to do so on the right and the left, until Walker did it in 2012. On the other hand, no governor in the U.S. history had survived a recall election either. You know, he's done some unprecedented stuff, Tom. Most of it bad. I read on. Intense fights have been playing out on the state level over the past few years about whether to call a constitutional convention. Well, if Walker's for it, I'm against it, but I read on. In 2017, Walker supported a successful push for Wisconsin to become the 28th state to do so. Wyoming and Arizona also joined that year, but other states that had supported conventions in the past rescinded their resolutions, including Maryland and Nevada. That's 2 steps forward and 2 steps back. Walker plans to make trips to South Carolina and Minnesota during this legislative session to encourage those states to call for a convention to enact a balanced budget amendment. This summer, he hopes to visit Idaho, Montana, Kentucky, and Virginia, 4 other top target states, to make the case. Lower on his priority list are Washington, Nevada, Maine, and even Connecticut. Walker noted that he got a lot of local leaders around the country during his 2016 run for president. What? Oh, he got to know a lot of local leaders. He got him to do what, I was wondering? Well, supposedly he knows people, Dom, and his tenure as chairman of the Republican Governors Association. Again, in the author's words, Walker told me he's keeping the door open to another run for statewide office in Wisconsin.
No, that door has been shut. I mean, we just shut the door. I mean, literally just shut the door.
He noted that Senator Ron Johnson has said in the past that he won't seek a third term in 2022, which would create an opening that intrigues him. He said that he's not sure if Johnson will follow through with what he said previously. I would defer to him, Walker said. If he chose to run again, I wouldn't run. Yeah, I think that Ron Johnson has enough money to bury you, Walker.
Crudy, he also said he would run against Governor Tony Evers, the Democrat who defeated him in a 2022 rematch. As you know, I think 6 months is a lifetime in politics, Walker said. I'm not ruling anything out. My wife told me, don't pretend you wouldn't ever run again. For now, he plans to offer conservative media commentary and write a forthcoming column. Ooh,
For
I can't
whom?
wait.
Who, for what, he's a blogger now? Is he going to post on David Blaska's page? Where precisely are they craving the columns of Scotty Wanker?
He joined a speakers bureau and may guest host a news talk AM radio show in Milwaukee from time to time.
I got a big announcement to make. We've added to the dial.
Crudy, I'm taking off next week for some spring break. Maybe get Walker to step in here and fill the gap.
Well, I'm sure he would have a difficult time filling your size 6 child shoes down, but...
That's 8.5 wide, but...
He will not be appearing on this fine radio station anytime soon, I suspect.
He stayed engaged with parochial issues important to the state. He appeared, for example, at the Wisconsin's GOP 8th Congressional District Convention this past Saturday. I wanted to go around and thank people, he said. President Trump and congressional Republicans slashed taxes while jacking up spending during the 2 years they had unified control of government. This will result in annual deficits topping $1 trillion for the foreseeable future. It's unprecedented to run such massive deficits when the economy is booming, hence my point. The national debt, Crudy, eclipsed $22 trillion last month. I remember Republicans used to care about that. The federal government will need to bring in $482 billion next year just on interest payments, more than the entire budget for Medicaid. By 2024, according to the budget released by the White House, the U.S. government will spend more servicing the debt than on the entire military. It's almost like they should raise revenues.
Well, I think they're just stupid. I think they're idiots.
More tax cuts for the very wealthy. It'll trickle down someday, Dom. You're just not waiting for the trickle down. Little more here. Walker declined to directly criticize Trump or GOP leaders for their specific roles in adding to the deficit. He prefers the pox on all their houses message to blame Washington writ large. Washington's got their head buried in the sand. Both parties share a significant amount of blame for the failure to act, maybe one more than the other. Yeah, I'd say the Republicans.
I would agree.
He complained that both parties often come together and agree to omnibus deals that give everyone what they want. Someone asked if I believe in bipartisanship, he quipped. I said, it depends.
Yeah, it depends if they're agreeing with me or if I have to agree with them.
The somehow newly relevant Scotty Wanker, and he's got to tweet himself out to make sure you know that he's still just a little relevant to somebody, Dom.
Somebody.
So some contributor, I suspect it's the Koch brothers, decided it was time to reward Scott Walker, unemployable in the private sector. Apparently he's heading up this constitutional effort. When he does it, it seems more like a constitutional crisis. Come back with us. We are the Devil's Advocates. Phone lines open. It's Tuesday, right?
I think so.
All day long?
Uh-huh.
Phones are open Tuesday style, 844-967-2789.
I believe that I'm being called to lead by helping to clear the field in this race so that a positive conservative message can rise to the top of the field.
It's a pleasure to see my good friend, Governor Scott Walker. He has been such a big help. He has been so
Having a great time.
Stand up, Scott.
No, I'm going to stay for a while. How about that?
I'm going to talk to you about that, Ron.
Freedom.
Now go home and get your f***ing shine box.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean. Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
The Devil's Advocates, where there's always time for Scott Walker bashing.
Welcome to our good buddy, Congressman Mark Pocan. Mark, in some small part, this little radio product, the entire rationale for buying a radio station was opposition to Scott Walker. One person's telling me, be humble, Crudy. Take a day and just be humble. And another person's telling me, no, dance on Scott Walker's grave. So, Congressman, I've always admired your sage advice, sir. What should I do? How should I react to this?
We should waltz, we should polka, and we should two-step. We should be dancing on this right now. To your credit, and I do want to give you guys credit. In Milwaukee, we have seen a shift, especially the suburban areas, from when we had just conservative radio to having you guys there. We have seen a shift in that area, and that's important because I think when people hear ideas, we do better. And I want to thank you for being there and doing what you do.
Hashtag Walker bashing.
Bye, Felicia.
The Devil's Advocates, where there's always time for Scott Walker bashing. Hashtag Walker bashing.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube and Facebook. We're on Twitter at Devil Radio, and the political party line always open. We take all callers here, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, the question I like to ask occasionally is, what's Wanker tweeting today? And apparently it's some self-love. He's retweeting an article at the Washington Post. Suddenly he's found relevance again, Dom. He's so proud. He has been hired up by some conservative right-wing movement to change the Constitution through constitutional convention, Dom, because only he can save America from itself.
This guy who signed what I will imagine be overturned lame duck laws into a special session before he was kicked out. I mean, after he lost, but before he left. This guy is going to be our gauge on what's constitutional, what's best for the country. Bitch, please.
Back to the Washington Post piece. James Holman, Dominic Holman, apparently asking the Wankinator a few questions. Here's one. Asked how Trump is faring generally. Wanker said, substantively great. Like many other Republicans, Walker added, there are times I wish he would tweet or say things a hair differently.
Just a hair. Not any big seismic change. Just a skosh.
Dominic, Walker also noted that he had to balance the budget each of 8 years he was governor, including when the economy was still in the doldrums after the Great Recession.
No, before we hear any quotes, are we not constitutionally required in the state of Wisconsin to have a balanced budget?
Well, sort of, Dom. We're constitutionally required to balance our budget under cash accounting methods. $1 in our pocket today, Dom. We meet the constitutional standard.
Doesn't seem like it'd be a very
balanced budget.
Doesn't seem like it'd be a very difficult thing for someone to do.
Well, especially if you're not, opposed to using methods like tossing and scooping, taking debt that comes due now and tossing it into the next budgetary cycle.
Thereby adding the interest amount that you pay on that debt?
Yes, generally costing the taxpayers higher interest payments overall, but in the short run, allowing you to continue to tell the people you've balanced budgets 8 years in a row, Dom. I read a quote from the Wankinator. It forces tough decisions, he said, it doesn't allow you to push them off. That's exactly what you did. You tossed and scooped them. You didn't push them. You tossed and scooped them. That's been a godsend for us. Depending on which way the pendulum swings, I may not always like the decision, but at least it's being made. I asked why Republicans are talking so much less about the debt than they did when Barack Obama was president.
That's an interesting question.
You kind of have these ebbs and flows, Walker said. It's like any other issue. In 2012, we weren't talking about border security. That doesn't mean it wasn't an issue. It's who are the voices? Who are the personalities?
Who is in the White House and what letter do they have behind their name?
And what pigmentation do they have to their skin down? He said he's going to do everything he can to elevate the issue during the 2020 presidential election. This is really going to have to be state-driven, he said. And a balanced budget amendment is a less fashionable idea than it was during the 80s and 90s. In 1995, a proposed amendment passed the House and failed by just one vote in the Senate. Otherwise, it would have gone to the states for ratification. Liberals believe a balanced budget amendment, if enacted, would inevitably force steep cuts to Medicare and Social Security. They also say it would worsen economic downturns by forcing the government to raise taxes and cut spending when a slowing economy results in less government revenue. Dominic, Walker doesn't care. He's just proud. He's got a job. He's got some relevance. He's going to go out on the road, and he's going to try to convince people to do stuff that's really not in their best interest. But hell, that seemingly is what he's been doing for the last 8 years. Come back, more Devil's Advocates.
If you missed something on the Devil's Advocates, don't worry. After you get over your shame, you can check out domandcroot.com. Podcasts and interviews updated daily.
I wasn't prepared to be a caregiver to Mom. I had no idea how hard it would be and what I would need to know. Things I never thought of, like how to improve her mood and ways for me to stay positive. Luckily, I found the Caregiving Resource Center from AARP. It had articles about the basics, but also information about the hurdles I was facing.
Caregiving Resource Center at aarp.org/caregiving. Articles, tips, and tools to help you both care for your loved one and care for yourself. Brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Teens in foster care will love you, even if you don't know the lingo.
Dad bod, noun. The result of the occasional donut, always washed down with confidence.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council. Visit adoptuskids.org.
You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com.
5 your local single-source IT solutions provider. Specializing in cloud technology, consulting, servers, networks, and hosting. We manage your IT so you can focus on running your business. Enjoy technology. Enjoy 59s.com.
Adopt U.S. Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting. A teenager. Learning the lingo.
Today I'm going to help parents translate teen slang. Now, when a teen says something is on fleek, it's exactly like saying, that's rad. It simply means that something is awesome or cool. Another one is totes. It's exactly like saying, totally, just shorter. As in, I totes love going to the mall with Becca. Another word you might hear is jelly. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will think you're, rad, just the same. To learn more, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
When you shop Goodwill, you don't just bring home a vintage dress or cat lamp. You bring home so much good to your community because everything you buy funds local job training and more. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
the Devil's Advocates.
James Santel, he's a former U.S. attorney. He's our guest live on Brady.
Once again, a pleasure to be with you, gentlemen, to talk about the latest news breaking as we speak.
The FBI raided Michael Cohen, Trump's personal attorney, but once they got there, then they went back and got a more thorough warrant and said, we'll take everything.
My first reaction is you need to teach criminal constitutional law. You've got it just right in terms of the process.
They are kind of a big deal.
This is a really big deal.
For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. More than 4,200 people have already signed up to volunteer for the Democratic National Convention, according to a story in the Journal Sentinel. A Milwaukee man has been charged in the death of his 17-year-old girlfriend after she was killed while attempting to rob another woman. The Shopko company, based in Ashwaubenon, says it will liquidate its assets and close all remaining stores by mid-June. And the Bucks were off last night. They'll take on LeBron James and the Lakers tonight at Fiserv Forum. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison tonight, mostly clear, lows in the low 30s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, highs in the upper 40s. For Thursday, sunshine with highs near 50 degrees. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio.
You're listening to the radio show your mother warned you about. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Doing a little Walker bashing. I still think it's merited, Dom. The Wankinator thinks he's a big shot again. He's finally got something to, hang his hat on. Apparently going to work to push for a constitutional convention because he's such a balanced budgeter, Tom.
Yeah.
He's got a reputation, at least according to him. Here's how this article at the Washington Post concludes. Regardless of the outcome of the fight, embracing the role of fiscal hawk dovetails with and could burnish the national brand Walker has spent the past decade trying to cultivate. In the long term, decrying the debt while Republicans in D.C. continue to spend like drunken sailors on shore leave could tee up a useful contrast against potential rivals who currently sit in the Senate if Walker were to run for president again in 2024, 2028, or even 2032. Dom, he will turn 65 the day before that election. There's even a precedent. And again, a quote from the Wankinator. You look way back, Walker told me. Ronald Reagan talked a lot about this issue between being governor of California and president. So he's going out to the wilderness to find his political legs once again, Dom, to find his identity as a fiscal hawk. Didn't this guy blow up the budgets in the state of Wisconsin? I mean, I know Act 10 and all the crap he often cherry-picked and talked about. But the budgets continued to balloon. The bonding continued to balloon. He was no fiscal hawk in the state of Wisconsin. He just stuck it to the teachers.
And he continues to lie, L-I-E, not tell the truth, fake it about what kind of deficit he claims to have fixed. I mean, his entire argument, if he's going to burnish this, this national image, it's based on a lie. And I hope he does. I hope he gets all sorts of attention and somebody actually goes to the Department of Administration website, clicks on the whatever year they want to look at. Maybe it's 2010, 2011, 2012. The gap deficit's 2012, $2.2 billion. 2011, $2.99 billion. And 2010, $2.915 billion. There's no $3.6 billion number anywhere. Just saying, folks.
But you're trying to win over Republicans with facts?
I just want people to know that number does not exist. Not in any meaningful reports that our government provides to us.
Well, there's plenty of examples of tossing and scooping and ballooning the state of Wisconsin budget. And, of course, also blowing up the bonding. Go see the transportation budget.
Right.
Well, Dominic, while Scott Walker's going off to, be a bought and paid for crusader for a constitutional convention, another former Wisconsin Republican politician, former Speaker Paul Ryan, he's off to another important position of his own, Dom. Apparently, he's going to be on the board of the new Fox Corp. Like Fox News Fox Corp. Found this one. Your brother brought this one to my attention.
Vinny, thank you.
On Twitter. Fox Corp emerges as standalone company, names Paul Ryan to board. They've merged their agendas, Dom. Kate Riga, Fox Corporation, a new standalone company that owns Fox News, among other properties, announced Tuesday the hiring. He actually gets paid, Dom. The hiring of former House Speaker Paul Ryan to its board of directors. Here's a quote. Mr. Paul D. Ryan served as the 54th Speaker of the U.S. House of Representatives from 2015 to 19. In which capacity? Was he Speaker that long? 4 years and he has that little to show for it? I read on. In which capacity he spearheaded efforts to revise the federal tax code, rebuild the national defense, expand domestic energy production, combat the opioid epidemic. How's that going? Reform the criminal justice system. How's that going? The company said in a press release. Tuesday marked the full separation of Fox Corporation from 21st Century Fox, which Disney recently acquired. And the first day it will be a publicly traded company. Go buy some Fox stock. Paul Ryan's on the board of directors, Tom.
Oh, I wonder how it's doing today. I may have to look it up. The Dow's down like 27 points today. Fox Corporation. We'll have to check it out.
Fox Corp.
Fox Corp. Let's get to the phones. People have been waiting. They want to join us at 844-967-2789. We encourage all of our listeners to do so. We'll start with Nick from Madison. Early bird gets the worm. Nick, what do you got for us today?
Hey, guys. I wanted to kind of finish what we were talking about yesterday.
I don't know what we were talking about yesterday, Nick.
Well, first of all, we were talking about my stand-up, which is great, but then we were talking about money and politics and everything.
All right.
And then basically, once my time was up, and I understand that, I couldn't, finish, but Trudy asked me a question. I gave an answer in the same parameters that he was. And then you said, Nick, you can't go there. You can't go there if you want to be on the show. And what it was is that
I'm just looking for accuracy in your statements, Nick. Understand, I'm not banning you unless you continue to just say, everybody does it without offering any evidence to support your conclusion, sir.
No, I understand. And basically, what you were talking about before was that, Republicans, especially Scott Walker, had, broken campaign finance laws. And then you asked me a direct question, about someone who, on the Democrat side, who had done the same thing. And I gave a direct answer. I said, Hillary.
What about Hillary?
Did it as well. And so these are two people running for president at the same time. And I don't think that's, you asked me a direct question, I gave you a direct answer. And I just, I love you guys, but I don't think, being dismissed like that was just, I don't think I was right.
You're lucky I don't have the controller up now. I'd be dismissive again.
Okay.
So, I'm not gonna sit here and defend Hillary Clinton, but you have to understand there was a field of 17 Republicans, about 12 of which, and we talked about this, had 527Bs. They were not transparently running for president. They were utilizing campaign finance laws in very, obstructionist fashion, or at least they were basically raising money without honoring the caps on political campaigns. They were using 501, more accurately 527B, these foundations, these institutes, or whatever you want to call them. They're supposed to be charitable organizations, and he used them to raise money in ways that were not permitted under campaign finance laws. Now, Hillary Clinton, I talked about it yesterday, Nick. Hillary Clinton was part of the Hillary Victory Fund, and I was never a big fan. I thought it smacked of corruption in its own right. But we were also talking about the current field of Democrats, not the prior field. And I'll set aside all the misconduct of Scott Walker, at least as a presidential candidate, if we can set aside Hillary and concentrate on the current field of candidates. And when you say everybody's doing it and it's bad for Beto or Bernie to raise money, well, they're raising money in a distinctly different fashion than all the candidates that you supported in 2016. I don't recall if you started with Walker and then moved to Marco Rubio and then Ted Cruz and never did quite find your way to Trump. But the rest of the Republicans in the state of Wisconsin were just fine with that sort of electoral malfeasance as well. They all got behind Scott Walker. They all got behind Ted Cruz. And they all ultimately got, maybe not you, Nick, but got behind Donald Trump. But if you look at the record of how those people campaigned, and certainly look at Donald Trump's record. I mean, be it the campaign, be it the foundation, be it the Trump organization. I mean, the guy's breaking laws all around him at all times. And that's before we even talk about paying off the porn stars. So unless Beto's got a couple of playmates in his past and there's some hush money payments, or unless we know that Elizabeth Warren has got a 527B that's out there, her shadow presidential campaign in waiting, I mean, it's not the same. That's just my opinion, Nick. But I didn't cut you off. Tom did.
844-967-2789. Let's keep going on the phones. Wisco Paul, you are next. Happy Tuesday. Paul, what do you got for us?
Hey, thanks for taking my call, Devils. I have to take a deep breath here before I talk too much. But Walker Rhodes, it's like deferred maintenance is what he did there. And the roads are just an utter disaster. I drive all over the state with my job, at least south to south central Wisconsin. It's a complete disaster.
But you remember what Walker told you, man. You had barrel fatigue, and we got the core of the Marquette interchange done. So don't worry about the appendages.
Paul, you still there? I think we might have lost Paul.
Paul must have
Take a breath,
Scott
man.
hole out there on the road, man.
Keep it together, man. Keep it between the lines. Thanks for calling, Paul. Sorry we can no longer hear you, but we can hear the rest of you. We'll take your calls now, 844-967-2789.
We have good roads in this state.
It's Gary from Sussex. You're up. Gary, what do you got for us today?
Hey, Gary, how you been?
Well, I've been good. We were on vacation for 2 weeks, and I could not listen to you guys, so couldn't wait to get back and turn my radio on to 1510.
Well, welcome back, Gary.
Okay. I hope you're going to be as nice. Tell Nick that you guys cut me off all the time.
We do it to all our callers ultimately at a certain point. It's just time to move on. But what's your point today?
Okay, I got 2 points real fast. When you guys start out with this Walker bashing, I thought, okay, Walker's gone. But now all of a sudden you guys found out that he may be, which I knew before, that he may be running for governor again. And then Ron Johnson said he would not run for Senate for a third term, so he's probably going to run for governor. So which one?
Who's going to run for governor? You think Ron's going to run for governor? That's not going to happen.
Oh, absolutely. No, I got inside information. I'm sorry to tell you this, but
you think I would love to see that happen. I don't think Ron Johnson has any desire to run for governor, but please give us your insights, Gary. I want to hear all about it, man.
So, Gary, I want to be clear. You think that Scott Walker will run for U.S. Senate, and the current U.S. Senator Ron Johnson would run for the governor of Wisconsin?
This is what's going to happen. If Ron Johnson just decides to go back to the private sector, he is not going to run another term because this is what he said, and he's not going to, back out. Okay, so I feel really strong from the people I've talked to and what I've heard is that he's going to make a run for governor. Now, if he doesn't, Scott Walker will make another term because he feels, as if he's been, well, you know what I'm saying. He's incomplete.
He's got nowhere else to go.
Right, he's got nothing else to do.
He did not. Well, no, he's got a job now. Come on. So, in your opinion, which one would be the worst? Because I know that you like Ron Johnson. You have him on the air all the time. And so you personally like him. I think that he's pretty much of an upstanding guy. So which one would you rather see run? Or which one would you rather not see run? And I have a guess, in my opinion, if both of them were thinking of running, I would say that Scott Walker would be your least choice.
Well, I'd rather see Scott Walker defeated once again. I think that would bring me tremendous joy. I've been, kind of walking on sunshine since the fall elections.
Yeah, but would you want to see Scott Walker get defeated as a gubernatorial candidate or a senatorial candidate?
Really, either one would bring me joy.
Yeah, that's what I'm kind of thinking. I mean, as long as he cries a little bit, I'd be okay with it.
I think that Scott Walker, as far as the state of Wisconsin is concerned, could do less damage in the Senate. But, don't put it past him. I'm sure he'd find a way to destroy the esteemed House that is the U.S. Senate currently. But ultimately, Dom, I'd like to see him lose. He's a loser at life. It's happening every day in real time. Whether he loses in a gubernatorial race or loses in a senatorial race, I think he would lose, and I don't think there's any chance that Ron Johnson wants to be the governor of the state of Wisconsin. I just see no indication from any prior conversation.
Gary, let me ask you a quick question. Do you believe that Governor Scott Walker solved the $3.6 billion budget deficit when he came into office in Wisconsin?
In his thinking and his mind and his math, he has.
Okay, can you verify that? Can you give any other number, other example of where that happened or how you could prove that?
You guys aren't listening to me, Dom. I said in his mind. I didn't say he did.
So Donald Trump always tells the truth in his mind? I mean, is that the standard, Gary?
Come on, Gary.
If you told your wife, Gary, I know you're a good family man, but if you told your wife, well, in my mind, I wasn't cheating. Do you think she would accept that as an answer, Gary?
You know what? I don't know enough about economics, whether he did or if he didn't. But in his mind, he thinks he's done it.
But don't you?
Well, you don't have to believe us, Gary. Just look at the CAFR reports, the certified. What are they? The financial reports of the state of Wisconsin. It's provable. This is math, Gary. Math is not subject to opinion generally, and his opinion can be whatever it wants to be. But he didn't solve a $3.6 billion budget deficit. I don't take the same umbrage with the whole lying that Scott Walker does, and Dominic takes to it. But ultimately, Gary, he's lying.
Okay, there's people smarter than you and I. Okay, and
speak for yourself, Gary.
About that. But Gary, here before you go, let me just say this: those reports are generated by the Department of Administration. The reports that show that he solved no $3.6 billion budget deficit was created by his own Department of Administration, Gary.
Probably some Doyle holdover bureaucrats, deep state.
All right. Last thoughts, Gary.
Okay, the last question I have for you is I was listening to this Beto O'Rourke, or Robert Francis O'Rourke, which is his real name, and he was asked the question this morning as he's standing on the table and his arms are wagging all over the place. The question was, do you believe in late-term abortion? So then he says to the audience, the question is, do I believe in abortion? And he says, I believe in the right for women to choose, and everybody claps. But he did not answer the question about late-term abortion. And, this really bothers me about these Democrats, that they're just skipping over this stuff. He is famous for not answering a question. He just goes out there and just gives some just flat rate, whatever.
Unlike Donald Trump, who's always right on point and clear and concise with all his responses.
Thank you, Gary. We always appreciate hearing from our conservative love muffins out there. You can always join us. We take all callers. Gary proves it. 844-967-2789.
You kind of keep us grounded, Gary. And I don't mean the sort of grounded Dom was from like first grade to 8th grade. I mean grounded, like close to, never mind. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Phone lines open. Conservatives, you're welcome here as well. 844-967-2789. Running with the Devils. We'll be right back.
You know, I'm an Eagle Scout.
We have good roads in this state.
I used to run track.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and you go, where's the downside? You got a completely green clean. That's awesome. We guarantee it. There's no downside.
There's no downside. Use Zero Res. Call Zero Res today. 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma.
At age 30, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, you can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Knowing your breasts can save your life. Go to knowyourgirls.org for the facts you need on breast health. Brought to you by Susan G. Komen and the Ad Council.
Hi, it's Olivia Munn with my shelter pets, Frankie and Chance, reminding you that when you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
The Devil's Advocates. They refuse to do math on the radio.
Dr. Michael Hicks, professor of economics, director of the Center for Business and Economic Research at Ball State University. This is troubling math all the way around. According to your mathematics, Michael, when do you think the great state of Wisconsin will get paid back on its investment?
Right. I mean, the answer is the answer is never.
Bring it? Oh, it's already been brought in. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, streaming on YouTube. We're on Facebook. We are on Twitter at Devil Radio on the party line. Talk or text 844-967-2789.
And Dominic, if I'm making no sense today, 2 days without caffeine, no soda for me. And you know I live on that jet fuel, man.
I know. I don't know how you're doing it. I mean,
I'm a little drowsy. I got to admit it. I'm a little, just a skosh off my game. Just a skosh.
No one can tell, man. You don't got to tell. Show the sausage, man. Just keep going with it. No one will ever know you're sober.
Well, who accused me of being sober?
Oh, okay.
I didn't say that was the problem.
Say some Red Bull back there, man. You'll just get some Red Bull and Jaeger. You'll be just fine.
I got some red something here. It's water with like chemicals sprayed in it.
Get some caffeine. Let's keep going on the phones. A few more minutes left in this hour. Bill from Oconomowoc, you are up. Thanks for calling, Bill. What do you got for us today?
Hey, Bill.
Good afternoon. I was actually going to say one thing, but I'm going to switch a little bit. Your one caller, you were talking about those 501(c)(4)Cs or those 527. Basically, what those are a legal way to launder money. And they already vote. Thought, well, if we get enough money, we can just sway people's minds. Am I wrong or am I right?
I'm not sure if Citizens United was the turn on that. I just know, even when Scott Walker was doing it in the 2015, in the run-up to the 2016 election, it was illegal then. If you're running for president, you can do an exploratory committee or you can declare your nomination. If you want to raise money for your campaign, the right way to do it is go declare yourself a candidate for something, and then you are subject to campaign finance limitations. Scott Walker didn't do that. Jeb Bush didn't do that. A lot of the Republicans, they created these shadow campaigns, and that's not permissible. But, of course, the FEC is toothless. And Scott Walker, although I think he broke campaign finance laws, I don't think there will ever be any clear ramification. I mean, I saw Jeb Bush got fined, but, big deal. You're paying those fines with somebody else's money anyways, Bill.
Well, you're starting to educate the voters in Wisconsin, and the proof of is where Tony's sitting right now. You had a big part of that. I think I called Chris Larson's office about Walker today, and I said, you got to educate the voters what that man tried to pull, how he laundered money, how he worked on the taxpayers' dime, how he just ran rampant over all the laws, including our state constitution. If you bring that to the surface where everybody knows that he's done, he is done with a capital D, I would think, and I'd actually, as I said, you can call me off air sometime. I love you guys. I'd kick in towards it to run a billboard that said, Scott Walker, please come on the Devil's Advocate show. We dare you. Now, he's in a position. He's in a position to do it. And if he's this mover and shaker and leader and out-of-the-box thinker, well, he should have the testicles to go and do it.
He does lack for balls is my my thought.
Thanks for the call, Bill. Crudy, the super PACs were created as a result of Citizens United.
Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. Hour 2, more of your calls. 844-967-2789. I'm going to take like a 5-minute nap. I'll be right back.
Want to see the super sexiest political show on earth? Check out the Devil's Advocates on YouTube.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Here in the Badger State, we have our own expressions. When we're looking to go on vacation, we state, well, let's go up north. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, president of Teamsters Local 200. Here in the Badger State, we also have another expression, union yes. The strength of the labor movement depends on elected officials here in Wisconsin and Washington, D.C. that support the values of working families that raise the standards for all. Give us a call at Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit our website at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook at Teamsters Local 200. Be engaged.
You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com.
Targeting social media. Spotlight on the 737 MAX. As he was welcoming the president of Brazil to the White House, President Trump today had something else on his mind.
We use the word collusion very loosely all the time, and I will tell you there is collusion with respect to that.
The president charging social media companies of colluding to block conservatives.
Something's happening with those groups of folks that are running Facebook and Google and Twitter, and I do think we have to get to the bottom of it.
At the same time, California Congressman Devin Nunes is suing Twitter for $250 million.
How is it possible that I can be attacked relentlessly hundreds of times a day by fake accounts that they claim in their terms of service should not be there?
Nunes charges Twitter and several users with defamation and negligence. Transportation Secretary Elaine Chao says her office will look into the certification of the 737 MAX jet following 2 crashes. At the same time, the president's nominating former Delta Airlines executive Steve Dixon to be the head of the Federal Aviation Administration. Another day of fire and heavy black smoke from a petrochemical plant burning near Houston. Judge Lena Hidalgo says it's natural that residents are concerned about their health and safety.
I know the concerns and I understand the concerns when you see a plume of smoke, perhaps material coming down. It's worrisome and we understand that. Officials have said the air quality is acceptable, but some residents remain concerned. Schools reopened in Deer Park today near the site of the fire. When FBI agents raided the home and office of President Trump's former personal lawyer Michael Cohen last April, Cohen had been under investigation for months. Information is in some newly released documents showing Cohen under scrutiny since July of 2017. On Wall Street, the Dow down 26, S&P down a fraction.
The Devil's Advocates, where there's always time for Scott Walker bashing.
Welcome to our good buddy, Congressman Mark Pocan. Mark, in some small part, this little radio product, the entire rationale for buying a radio station was opposition to Scott Walker. One person's telling me, be humble, Crudy. Take a day and just be humble. And another person's telling me, no, dance on Scott Walker's grave. So, Congressman, I've always admired your sage advice. Sir, what should I do? How should I react to this?
We should waltz, we should polka, and we should two-step. We should be dancing on this right now. To your credit, and I do want to give you guys credit. In Milwaukee, we have seen a shift, especially the suburban areas, from when we had just conservative radio to having you guys there. We have seen a shift in that area, and that's important because I think when people hear ideas, we do better. And I want to thank you for being there and doing what you do.
Hashtag Walker bashing.
Bye, Felicia.
Bible.
North Dakota is about to become the last state to allow unrestricted Sunday shopping. Correspondent John Stolnis with more.
The GOP-led legislature has voted to repeal the last remnants of the state's restrictions on shopping on Sundays, with senators voting to repeal those restrictions. The National Conference of State Legislatures says North Dakota is the only state in the country that still prohibits shopping on Sunday mornings. At one time, the state law said most businesses had to stay closed altogether. That was changed in 1985 to allow grocery stores to open. In 91, the legislature agreed to let most businesses open, but not until afternoon. Republican Governor Doug Burgum is expected to sign the bill. I'm John Stolnis.
A Detroit police officer has been convicted of misdemeanor assault and battery in the beating of a naked, unarmed, and mentally ill woman inside an emergency room triage unit. 47-year-old Dwayne Jones also was charged with felony misconduct, but that was dismissed. I'm Mike Moore.
1 in 3 adults in America have prediabetes, but most don't know it. To let people know it can be reversed before it becomes type 2 diabetes, professional basketball player Julius Randle is doing everything in reverse.
I'm only dunking with reverse windmills. I drove the whole way to practice in reverse. I don't recommend it. This move's called the reverse shuffle. I do recommend it. And it took me months to learn how to speak in reverse, like this. Years 10 almost for diabetes type 2 with living Ben has mama. In other words, my mom has been living with type 2 diabetes for almost 10 years. So together, we want to say to the 84 million Americans at risk, exercise and healthy eating can help reverse prediabetes. Start by taking a simple 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Bet he can't say that in reverse.
For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. More than 4,200 people have already signed up to volunteer for the Democratic National Convention, according to a story in the Journal Sentinel. More than a half dozen school districts in the Milwaukee area are scrambling to find crossing guards after the company that provides them went out of business for not paying unemployment taxes. And 31-year-old Brandon Shearer of Portage, Wisconsin, has been charged with killing a dog with a roofing hammer on Saturday. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison. Tonight, mostly clear skies, lows in the low 30s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with highs in the upper 40s. And for Thursday, sunshine with highs near 50 degrees. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back. Hour 2 of the Devil's Advocates radio show. It should come as a shock to no one, Dominic. Paul Ryan has joined the Fox News board. I mean, I'm not at all surprised. It was, modestly noteworthy, but not surprising one iota that, they merged their agendas, the Republican Party and Fox News. Well, here's something I did find a skosh troubling, Dom. She was not my drinking partner per se in Des Moines after the Democratic debate, but she did sit behind me, and I was drinking with Bernie's people, and I was under the impression, at least that night, that Donna Brazile, the former DNC chair, perhaps was there supportive of Hillary Clinton. But I never would have guessed that she would be supportive and go to work for Fox News, Dom. How can you do that? You sellout. What say you?
Former interim DNC chairwoman Donna Brazile is joining Fox News as a commentator, the network said on Monday. The longtime Democratic operative will offer commentary on both Fox News and Fox Business, and her move comes as some in the Democratic Party have accused the channel of functioning as a state-run television for President Donald Trump, especially after an article in The New Yorker outlined how intertwined the network is with Trump's White House.
And don't forget the former Speaker of the House.
Brazile, in a statement, said she was delighted to join the network and said she was eager to represent Democrats for Fox News viewers who, she argued, didn't hear enough from Democrats. She acknowledged that she might catch heat from members of her own party for the move, saying that my response is that if we've learned anything from the 2016 election, it is that we can't have a country where we don't talk to those who disagree with our political views.
Yeah, but do you have to do it on Fox News as a contributor, as an employee of the Fox News Corp?
Prior to serving as the head of the DNC briefly during the 2016 election, Brazile had been a longtime commentator on networks like ABC and CNN. The latter severed ties with Brazile just weeks before the election after WikiLeaks published emails in which she tipped off members of Hillary Clinton's campaign about questions at a debate and town hall during the Democratic primary.
Well, Dom, we won't have to worry about that because apparently the Dems, they don't want to appear on the Fox News. You see what Fox News is doing now? They're offering Howard Schultz, the Starbucks dude, the independent. They're giving him a town hall.
Just him all by himself?
All by himself.
A source with knowledge of internal workings of Fox News nodded at those accusations, saying Monday that Brazile will not have anything to do with the debate or town hall process at the network. The network, however, will not be hosting any Democratic primary debates after the DNC announced that Fox News was not a suitable host following the publication in the New Yorker article. Brazile's contributorship begins immediately with her first appearance coming Monday. I guess that was yesterday. Though Fox News consistently tops ratings over rivals CNN and MSNBC, it has also come under scrutiny for controversial behavior by former top executive and hosts at the network, and we all know those stories.
Our pal Dave at Scott Free tweeted out, so the woman caught giving debate questions to her candidate goes to work for the company that got caught giving debate questions to their candidate. What a surprise. Well said. Well read, David.
But I guess here's the question, and we talked about this yesterday. We never got to this topic yesterday, of course, with Speaker Ryan, former Speaker Ryan, now going on the board of the Fox Corporation, parent of Fox News. Once again, we're talking about this news, quote-unquote, organization. I I think I'm with Brazil on this one. I think you got to engage, and especially if the check's clear, how do you not?
Well, it's one thing to engage, Dom. I've appeared on Fox News, hasn't everybody? I've been on Fox News. I got no big qualm. I'm not chastising myself for making a simple contribution. Sure, go say your piece on Fox News. But that's different than cashing checks. I didn't get paid. And I'm not saying just because I didn't get paid down in Brazil shouldn't get paid. Obviously, she is a media figure. Makes her brand, her knowledge, her punditry. That's how she cashes her checks. But if she was a direct hire of the Republican Party, would that seem suitable to anybody? I mean, effectively, the Fox News is the Republican Party. Would I go debate someone from the Republicans or Fox News? Hell yes, I would. Would I go to work for the Republican Party or Fox News? Hell no, I wouldn't.
So what do you say then of the late, dearly departed Alan Colmes? He was, of course, foil for Sean Hannity. And, of course, Alan Colmes, before his passing, was doing lots of radio.
He was.
Was he wrong in doing so?
I was never a huge Alan Colmes radio show fan. Personally, there were a few hosts that I admire more than Alan Colmes. Ultimately, I kind of like the point-counterpoint, although, he was the weak stick to Hannity. Always got the short stick. Dom, they'd play the music loud sometimes. They'd turn his microphone off. I mean, it was never a fair debate. And ultimately, I know everybody's got to pay the bills. I mean, hell, I scratch my head and I think, wow, independent's great. Wonder how you make money at it, right? It'd be great to get paid oodles of money to go and be the best political pundits on talk radio, Dom. Well, we're already doing the best part of it. We're just not getting paid like a Fox News contributor.
Okay.
Sure, it'd be nice to get paid. But ultimately, you got to have morals, man. You got to have character. Would you sell your soul to the devil? Well, Fox News. I analogize. They are roughly the same.
All right, then let's spin this around. What about Republican contributors on CNN or MSNBC?
What are we talking about? Charlie Sykes now? Who else is there? I don't see a lot of Republican contributors.
Sure, there's
Michael Steele.
If I pull up a list, will it make you happy, Crudy? The point is there are certainly Republican contributors to those other news organizations as well. Do you think that they should not? That neither the contributors should join nor should the news organization ask someone from that particular party their point of view? I mean, isn't that? I mean, how else do you engage in discussion, man, if you don't have someone at least pushing the other side?
If you don't have someone on your payroll pushing the other side?
Well, how is it going to get them to show up every other day? Because it seems like that person from the other side is suddenly compromised when they go on the payroll. I'm just saying, I draw a distinction. I'm okay even, an appearance fee. Hell, you can get paid onesie twosies. You go on to Fox News. I'm okay with Democrats if they did go on Fox News. If they got paid union scale, whatever you get paid. I didn't get paid anything. They didn't think I was meritorious. But you're a one-time guest versus basically a job, right? I mean,
well, we've got reoccurring guests on this show. Matt Rothschild, lots of people, reoccurring guests. Scott Ross, before he went off to the private sector, came on all the time. Didn't have to pay him. He was more than willing to put his point of view out there because he thought he had important ideology to share with the audience. And I would have been okay, and, I'm okay, if you go on the Fox News or you go on right-wing talk radio. Hell, I'd be okay if some of these candidates went over on the right. Go on Hannity's show. I dare you. I mean, Hannity's going to look like a moron by comparison with any person that's got an IQ above triple digits. So I've got no qualms with going to appear or going to debate or going to expose yourself on Fox News. But when you start cashing the checks, man, there is a compromise. Because what they don't tell you is then Fox News has a little bit of control over what it is you say on the air. And now they can threaten to take away your livelihood if you're not saying the things that they would want you to say.
Now, is it the same would you consider that same threat, the same danger for CNN or MSNBC?
If they are, and I would suggest, if they were partisan mouthpieces for any specific political ideology. And some will accuse MSNBC of being a mouthpiece for the left. Well, last time I checked, all the presidential candidates might go running to Rachel Maddow, but they're not paying her for fluff interviews. She's not part of the establishment. She's not on the team per se. She's not on the payroll, certainly. So I don't see the same sort of affiliation between MSNBC or CNN, despite all the accusations of fake news by Donald Trump. They might be the loyal opposition to Donald Trump, or at least it might feel like that under the current administration, but they're not on Team Democrat. Tom Perez is not part of the establishment over at MSNBC. Not in the same way Donald Trump spends most of his weekends and days doing executive time live tweeting Ducey and Kilmeade and the Foxy friends.
So then, again, I just want to be clear. CNN and MSNBC should not pay right-wing or left-wing contributors? I mean, is that what you're telling me? I mean, I'm just looking for some consistency in your criticism here, dude.
Well, I've always thought that right-wingers would be more than willing to sell their souls. I do not think it's prudent for an outfit like MSNBC to hire a contributor like Charlie Sykes. Yeah, I think Charlie Sykes he's a guy, he'll change his stripes whenever necessary to earn a paycheck. He's demonstrated that a few times during his career. But would I rather hear the insight from a progressive, a lefty? What, you can't find any of us out here? Here's two of the finest in America right here on this radio show. You can't find someone from the Milwaukee media market to come and do an interview on MSNBC, to be part of the panelist discussion. I find that hard to believe, Dom. And I don't think that left-wing, quote-unquote, organizations, if you're MSNBC, if you got to hire someone on to show up on your program, yeah, I'm starting to take a little bit of issue. I don't mean your journalist. I mean your guests. When you start paying Charlie Sykes to appear, well, Charlie Sykes is starting to give you what he thinks you want to hear, because he's done that throughout the course of his career. You don't have to pay me. I'll come and give you the
So Donna Brazile wouldn't do the same thing. She wouldn't, she's going to say what she wants, right? She's going to tell.
Right up until they threaten to take away her livelihood.
And then what, you think she folds and goes and does what Fox News tells them?
I think many of them do. Look at the whole example of Fox News. Look at all the sexual harassment that went on at Fox News and how they buried that in NDAs and hush money agreements and lawsuits. I mean, yeah, you have a lot of control. Lots of people want access to the media, right? And when you start paying someone oodles of money, I mean, 6-figure, maybe 7 figures, Donna Brazile, I guarantee she's making $500,000 or more. Who wants to give up that sort of a livelihood? You become accustomed to the niceties of life. I'd like to get that sort of pampered, privileged complacency at some point in my career,
right, so
Dom.
if Fox News comes along and gives Crudy $500,000 to be a continuing contributor to their news organizations, you're going to turn it down?
Oh, no, I'd cash that check. I'm just negotiating now through the radio product.
I see.
No, I'd like to think, and here's the advantage of, being the guy who's dumb enough to go out and buy your own media outlet. You can't say I'm getting paid off, Dom. I mean, you can't say I've ever sold my integrity to do this. We don't ever pull punches, I'd like to think. We don't ever do something because somebody paid us or ran some ads. The boss doesn't ever come and tell you what you can say on the WRD, on the Devil's Advocates radio show. I mean, you got one of the greatest bosses ever.
No one's going to tell me what I can't say anyway.
Well, I can tell you, nor do we tell any of the hosts on any of the radio station programs. We don't tell them what to say.
And you think Donna Brazile's going to be
rein them in?
She's going to be reined in by Fox News?
Yeah. You don't think so?
You think Alan Combs was as well?
First, yeah.
And then do you also then think that do you think Charlie Sykes is being reined in by MSNBC?
No, I think Charlie Sykes will say whatever he's got to say to cash the checks.
To hell with them all. They should all just listen to the greatest radio show ever, The Devil's Advocates.
Well, there's got to be a business profit model, no doubt. But when you sell your soul to Fox News or the devil, man, don't ask me to respect you afterwards.
I don't have a soul, Crudy.
You already sold it? Come back with us, more Devils.
Sign on with the devil.
Devil's Triangle.
Hey, the Devil's Advocates here. Yeah, man. All right.
We're not just doing this for money. We're doing it for a load of money.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and you go, where's the downside? You got a completely green clean. That's awesome. We guarantee it. There's no downside.
There's no downside. Use Zero Res. Call Zero Res today. 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana, even though the 2018 midterm referendum in 11 counties and the city of Waukesha passed by over 79%. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him you support legalized medicinal marijuana.
No, I don't see it.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org. P4ppc.org. Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in a former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
The Devil's Advocates.
Doug from Cudahy.
Right around the time of the uprising, I found you. I started listening, and 2 years later, after I signed the recall and voted, we went out to sing along with the singers on my birthday. And they were so cool, and it's one of the greatest memories that I had. And ever since I started listening to the Devil's Advocates, I have been woke. I haven't missed one vote since. You guys have really done wonders for our community, and I'm just so happy you're on the air.
Making radio great again. When they go low, we get high. Dom and Krutz are the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back from the 420 break. Thank you so much for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. Streaming on YouTube, Facebook, on Twitter at Devil Radio on the political party line. Talk or text 844-967-2789.
You know, actually, I am troubled by this issue, Dom. You know, you hate to restrain trade. You hate to tell someone like Donna Brazil you can't make a living. I mean, pretty much the whole establishment on the right, I don't believe that they believe a lot of what they say. I think they think that the paychecks are too fat, and they don't want to risk rocking the boat over at Fox News. I mean, there are plenty of examples that I could make the case with, but I'd like to know, am I the only one that feels this way? Is it treachery to go work for Fox News? If a man or a woman's got to, cash a check, pay the bills, can they go work for Fox News?
Well, I mean, is it worse? Republicans? Is it worse to appear on Fox News as a paid contributor or just a free contributor? Would you rather
sucker
be
like me doing
Would you
it for
rather
free?
be a slut or a whore, Crudy? I guess that's really what it comes down to, right?
Well, I've always been a slut, but I've never sold away my principles.
I might be easy, but I ain't cheap. 844-967-2789. Mark from the Sack, you're up. Thanks for calling. What do you got for us today?
Well, God bless Gary there for supporting Scott Walker and saying that Scott Walker might believe this stuff, and there's all sorts of things we believe. I mean, some of us guys might think we believe we're hung like John Holmes, but that doesn't make it so. It just the facts are that Scott Walker did nothing as far as Wisconsin's budget go. He made things worse, pure and simple. His first act, along with the legislature, that when he got elected, is to blow up the budget so he could have a special session. That's just cold, concrete facts. It has nothing to do with what you believe or not. It's just the facts of things. I mean that. It just, you brought up the CAFR and the gap reports the state produces, and that's where you have to go for the facts. I mean, and Scott Walker can, if he's saying what he thinks is true and is not true, it's still not true. It's still a lie.
Right.
And
well, Mark, let's move beyond the facts and talk about your opinion. What's your opinion on someone like Donna Brazile taking a paid gig with Fox News?
I don't know. I mean, that everybody's got, and maybe, maybe optimistically, maybe it will open some eyes over on the other side. That maybe somebody will get a different opinion listening to Fox News. That they'll see something other than, the talking heads spouting their right wing claptrap. And as far as having a triple digit IQ to take on Mr. Hannity, I don't think you need as much as that. I think.
You don't need it. You're just gonna.
I don't think you.
You're going to make him look bad by comparison because he's at least 2 standard deviations below the norm mark.
Well, I think somebody with just a very modest IQ could chew Sean Hannity up if they were.
I bet you Dom could do it even.
He's got such nice hair, though, Mark. But I guess here's the question, though: if it's not okay to do it as a paid contributor, how is it okay for someone to do it as a 1 or 2 time contributor? I mean, what is the issue specifically that concerns everybody?
I don't know, because what I found remarkable is you have consistent conservatives, like Jennifer Rubin, who consistently appears on MSNBC. And that's what we're missing is that the people who are the old-fashioned kind of conservatives seem like they're pretty horrified with what.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, Jennifer Rubin's not saying that she's a conservative columnist anymore in her pieces in the Washington Post. Thanks for the call, as always, Mark. Come on, Crudy. So you're not going to go on to Fox News for free? And you go on Fox News for free, but you wouldn't go on if they paid you.
Well, I just feel bad about it. I might give a little of that money to some good cause.
Just leave some money on leave some money on the dresser. I'll show myself out the door.
I tell you what, here's the promise I make to the audience. If I am ever paid to appear on Fox News, I will squander all that money. I will go straight to a legal marijuana state, and I will blow it all at a dispensary.
Nice.
And I might even take you with, little buddy. We'd have a good time there, I bet. Come back with us. More Devil's Advocates. We'll have a good time here with you on the phones as well. 844-967-2789.
Do you want to be a winner? All the winners I know like the Devil's Advocates Facebook page.
It's tremendously big and tremendously wet.
Long ago, you wouldn't think of galloping on a horse while doing calligraphy, and you wouldn't have attempted to ride your bike while typing a letter. Yet you think you can safely operate a multi-ton vehicle while texting? Behind the wheel is no place to multitask. If you want to BRB, drive now and text later. Lives depend on it.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org, a message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, Noise, and the Ad Council.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. That means it could be you, your best man, your worst man. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org to know where you stand. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
To protect his family from disaster, Steve used his camera phone. Done. By taking pictures of his important documents, Steve can always have them stored online. Learn more simple disaster prep tips at ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com.
Looking for future leaders we can trust and believe in? Look no further than the high school student athletes right here in Wisconsin. High school sports teach young people how to be effective leaders. It begins by making their grades and being on time for practice. It includes learning to listen, following directions, accepting responsibility, being a good role model. And it's about respect for officials, opponents, the rules, and each other. The result? It transcends sports. It gives us hope for the future. High school sports. there's so much more than just a game. This message presented by the Wisconsin Interscholastic Athletic Association and the Wisconsin Athletic Directors Association.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
Josh Call, the candidate for Wisconsin Attorney General.
Do you think voter ID had a suppressive effect, not on 100 voters, but on thousands of voters and perhaps tipped the election to Donald Trump?
This is an issue that came up at our trial. And first of all, I should thank you guys because we actually introduced into evidence the recording of you interviewing Dale Schultz, who was talking about the passage of the voter ID law. That was one of our pieces of evidence.
I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for those meddling devil's advocates.
For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. A new solar power project planned for Jefferson County could generate enough electricity for about 20,000 homes. Former Speaker of the House Paul Ryan of Janesville has been named to the Board of Directors of the Former Speaker of the House Paul Ryan of Janesville has been named to the Board of Directors of the newly reconfigured Fox Corporation. And Milwaukee police say a UWM police officer shot a man outside of the Fine Arts building on the school's campus this morning. The man was taken to the hospital. The university said the individual is not connected to the school and that no students or employees were involved in the incident. Outside tonight, mostly clear, lows in the low 30s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy with highs in the upper 40s. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio.
The Devil's Advocates, radio for the 99%.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates radio show. I will squander every penny made on Fox News, but I don't have to go on Fox News and cash checks. I'll go for free. I'll go and educate them a little bit, school them up, but I'm not getting paid by Fox News. I got a better scheme.
Ooh, do tell.
I have litigation in mind, Dom. I'm going to go sue Twitter for $250 million.
250? Why not 500? Why not $1 billion?
Because I don't want to seem greedy. Now, you think this is my bright idea. I just came up with it. Oh, no. There is an actual piece of litigation, and it's your buddy, Danny Devin Nunes. And he's suing Twitter and a parody account pretending to be his mom and a cow.
Listen, miss.
Rep Danny Devin Nunes is furious at parody accounts on Twitter claiming to be his mom and one of his cows. According to Fox News, Nunes is sick of being mocked and ridiculed on Twitter.
You take drugs, Danny?
Striking back every day.
What's the problem?
In her endless barrage of tweets, Devin Nunes' mom maliciously attacked every aspect of Nunes' character, honesty, integrity, ethics, and fitness to perform his duties as a United States congressman. The court filing said, according to CNN's Andrew Kaczynski, Twitter allows for parody accounts as long as it's plainly stated in their profile that they are a parody. Presumably, it's known that Devin Nunes' cow is a parody account, as cows don't have thumbs to tweet.
Sit down, Danny.
I disagree. Trump's a cow, and he tweets out every day.
Another problem with Nunes' complaint of the parody cow account is that he no longer owns his dairy farm in California, and his family farms have moved to Iowa. I'm not sure why that's a problem. Nunes' case is not likely to move forward in court. The law clearly outlines parody, and satire is allowed when it comes to public officials, as Saturday Night Live shows each week. Don't tell Donald Trump. Nunes is claiming anti-conservative bias, though he would be hard-pressed to find evidence of it. Now, just because Devin Nunes can go on Fox News and make these bold, audacious claims, not predicated on any evidence or fact, Dom, that seems less likely to hold up in a court of law. And hell, it was a Fox News guy, Judge Napolitano. I think he was, chastising young Nunes.
Are you my pal?
For his stupidity, Dom, on Fox News.
We do have some Judge Napolitano, Fancy Brian, if you would, on the Nunez lawsuit, Cut 96.
Well, I think it's a novel litigation because we haven't seen anything like this before. Usually, when public officials sue because of what somebody said or didn't say about them, they lose. The theory being they have as big a megaphone as the person they claim has harmed them. And the First Amendment does not regulate Twitter. It's a private entity. So I don't know where it's going to go. He may be doing this just to make a statement, and he clearly is making a statement and focusing a spotlight on Twitter's bias. Sometimes courts don't like to be used to make political statements, but we'll see where this goes.
So, Judge, do you know who is apparently responsible for at least one of these parody Twitter accounts, Dom?
I do not.
Liz Mayer. You remember Liz? She got hired to work for Scott Walker's Our American Revival during his presidential campaign and then fired.
Like quickly, right?
In less than 24 hours. Scott Walker had hired her previously to tweet for his, 2014 gubernatorial campaign. But Liz Mayer seems like a fairly reasonable and sarcastic Republican. I like her better than most. She does believe in a woman's right to choose, God forbid. But ultimately, Dom, this seems like either a great idea or perhaps a frivolous nuisance lawsuit that has no merit before the courts.
I look forward to hearing what the judge, the actual judge, has to say about this. The other judge from Fox News.
I was going to say, if only he could catch Judge Smales on this case.
Napolitano, what? But what if it was you, though? What if it was your account, Cut 97?
That's horrible. And if it happened to me, I'd be furious.
But it's not illegal.
But it's not illegal. They're not the government.
Yeah. Right. And finally, Cut 98.
Look, maybe the court's going to have to decide this, but because this is a private entity, they can do this. Listen, I'm a staunch defender of the First Amendment, as you guys know, but the First Amendment only restrains the government, all government. It doesn't restrain private entities.
Judge, by the time this is litigated, this election's going to get affected because they're already suppressing people like Don Jr. and conservatives, and they're trying to stop social media from playing a role.
And there may very well be an electoral reaction to this, which is the opposite of what the Twitter people want.
Now, there's a lot to unpack there. So aside from Devin Nunes's lawsuit, Don Jr., what, did he get banned? Did he have to go on a timeout? I'm unclear as to what these specific grievances are. But certainly the conservatives are all aflutter. They think that social media, Twitter, Facebook, are all against them.
Well, that and Google also, because whenever they have one of their harebrained conspiracy theory stories break, and, Hillary Clinton's running some sort of pedophile ring out of a pizza joint in Jersey. For whatever reason, Dom, those stories don't climb to the top of the page on Google. It's almost as if the algorithms at Google don't think, news sources like Alex Jones or Breitbart have the same sort of veracity as, let's say, the Washington Post or the New York Times, Dom.
No,
it's clearly an anti-conservative bias.
But these are private organizations. They can set their own rules. This is
You're
not
talking about Twitter
About
now.
Twitter, Google, Facebook, all these social media platforms. And to my understanding, they would want as many users as possible, right?
Presumptively.
But what if?
But unless you've got an agenda.
Let's take that position. Let's look at the Republicans. If there is a tweak in the algorithm, to make their statements less prolific, if that were to be done, is that illegal? Is that wrong? Is that unethical? What say you, Michael?
Well, it's certainly not illegal. And if you could find some actual evidence and not just Devin Nunes on Fox News, maybe I would actually take this seriously. But it seems to me like the right has their own entire television network. And they, right here in the state of Wisconsin, Dom, got 81 outlets of right-wing talk radio each and every day, 235 hours a day. So, if, according to the magic algorithm on Google or Twitter, they're not appearing in enough Twitter streams. Well, first and foremost, how narcissistic must you be to actually know and try to track how many Twitter streams you've appeared in and then suggest that, maybe it's not you and your lack of creativity in your tweets. I mean, Donald Trump, he tweets all the time. If they were actually against the conservatives, wouldn't they throw Donald Trump off Twitter? Wouldn't they block him and his 55 million followers of, some humans, some bots?
That would be too obvious, though.
You'd
have to go after perhaps somebody like his son, Donnie Jr.
Oh, yeah. Just keep it in the family. I mean, there's so many ways for the right to get their message out, Dom. Maybe not an anti-fact message, not the one that they'd want to spend, but they still can do that. They're still Hannity, and I'm sure Janine will be back from suspension, the judge, over on Fox News anytime now, and Tucker Carlson. Hell, I hear he's gutting it out and skipping a vacation, Dom, just so he could be there to fight the angry mobs. I mean, you've got an entire television network. You've got several outlets of the right, and most of them have Twitter accounts, Dom. So I see this as a nonsense issue unless I can get in on the action and somehow get paid $250 million.
Crudy, from a breaking news, I guess, on this topic from the Washington Post, Philip Bump 15 minutes ago. Trump calls out big discrimination by tech companies against conservatives. Donald Trump Jr. has been on a mission recently, writing articles for Real Clear Politics and The Hill, arguing that conservatives are the target of censorship by technology companies. To make his case each time, he pointed to a barrage of articles from Breitbart.com, a site that's both championed and benefited from the idea that conservative voices are being squelched on Twitter and Facebook. Twitter itself hasn't been squelched, mind you, given that it is consistently among the top publishers on Facebook in any given month. Rep. Devin Nunes's lawsuit against Twitter, unveiled Monday, picked up similar themes. And here's a quote. Well, how is it that every day there's conservatives that are being banned, he asked Fox News' Sean Hannity in an interview Monday evening. How is it possible, he added later, that I can be attacked relentlessly hundreds of times a day by fake accounts that they claim in their terms of service should not be there? Nunes claimed that his lawsuit was part of his ongoing effort to investigate anything possibly related to Russia to save President Trump. Quote, this is part of the continuing Russia investigation, he told Hannity. We're not going to just let all these fake news stories that are written about this investigation, about this hoax that were lies, we're going to challenge every single one of them in court. President Trump was asked by a reporter from the conservative Daily Caller about the role of tech companies in spreading misinformation during a joint press conference on Tuesday. He didn't directly answer the question, shocking. And here's what Trump said. Well, we have to do something. I tell you, I have many, many millions of followers on Twitter, and it's different than it used to be. Things are happening. Names are taken off. People aren't getting through. You've heard some complaints, and it seems to be. If they're conservative, if they're Republicans, if they're in a certain group, there's discrimination and big discrimination. I see it absolutely on Twitter and Facebook, which I have also, and others I see, but I really focus more on the one platform.
The one only true platform. Twitter! Dominic, he went on to suggest that tech companies were colluding with one another. And then it was, and this is a quote, very, very fair to say that we have to do something about it. As with Breitbart's railing against the conservative voices being quieted while it dominates Facebook, Trump went on to note that even with his purported censorship, Republicans still won elections. To bolster his case for rampant censorship, Little Fredo Jr.'s essay points to various anecdotes, including that he himself had an image removed by Instagram, which is owned by Facebook. In an interview with Fox News, Tucker Carlson, yeah, good thing they got Tucker and Hannity to run to cry down. Trump Jr. said he heard from a number of people after complaining about that removal. Hundreds of people sending me direct messages. Don, my account was shut down because I tried liking one of your tweets, or I tried liking one of your father's Instagram posts. That was him and his grandchildren. Nothing even controversial, Trump Jr. said.
Sure.
And time again, I had to follow you, Don, 3 times in the last week because they keep unfollowing you. I've never heard of that, Don.
Nor I.
That would be really sad if somehow I unfollowed Trump Jr. and the old man. There is, however, no evidence of systemic effort on the part of Facebook, Twitter, or Google, which owns YouTube, to specifically shut down conservative users or content. Trump Jr. points to a report. Wait for it, Dom.
Okay.
From James O'Keefe's Project Veritas.
Dun, dun, dun.
Talking about fake news. Have they ever been right about anything? They've been criminally charged. The guy's a convicted, I'm not sure if it's a felon, but he's been convicted for, breaking into a senator's office and tapping the phones? James O'Keefe, give me a break. A report from James O'Keefe's Project Veritas in which a former Facebook employee identifies a flag applied to content to limit their reach. That must be what they do to us, Tom. A flag which O'Keefe argues was targeted to conservatives. But the document shared showed that the real focus of Facebook's action was trolling or other negative behavior. In a statement, Facebook indicated that the so-called whistleblower was a Veritas plant. We've seen this debate before. Last summer, a number of conservatives claimed they'd been shadow banned by Twitter, a phrase that was used to describe they're no longer appearing in Twitter search results. Nunez claims this happened to him too. The most likely culprit, though, was that the affected individuals had triggered Twitter's own anti-trolling measures, which had, at that point, only recently been implemented. It wasn't only conservatives affected by the change to Twitter policy, but it was conservatives who seized upon the idea that they were being targeted. They're always frickin' snowflake victims, aren't they?
Yes, they are.
Why were social media networks like Facebook and Twitter implementing systems to try and change their user experience over the past several years? Question mark. Certainly in part because of the criticism they faced after the 2016 election, during which Twitter was a hotbed of fascist and racist behavior, and Facebook was a key vector for the spread of misinformation. This behavior may not be balanced evenly on the political spectrum. Conservatives, a study after the election found, were 30 times as likely to share content created by Russian trolls during the 2016 election.
That's a stunning number.
30 times more likely, Dom. That despite the fact that much of the content being shared was targeted to those on the left. Another study found that the people most susceptible to sharing fake news on social media, sounds like Fox News' demographics, older Americans, and conservatives. There's obviously substantial overlap between those groups. When BuzzFeed spoke with a group of Macedonian teens who were making money hand over fist during the 2016 election, they were explicit. Content focused on appealing to Trump supporters did much, much better. There was a similar effect when Facebook was revealed to have been using human moderators to shape its news feed. It came under fire for limiting conservative sites through the content being muted, often overlapping with known fake news purveyors. When human moderators were revealed, fake news quickly appeared on the now removed news feed. None of this suggests that Trump Jr. or Nunez were sharing racist content on their Twitter accounts, though Trump Jr. has certainly shared factually questionable stories in the past. But that he and other conservatives are looking for specific action means that they may isolate examples as reinforcement of their points. I think that's called confirmation bias. That's a dangerous tendency in a space like social media, where small groups can quickly seem to be outsized. Nunez complaining about hundreds of accounts hassling him and insisting that they must be fake accounts simply because of the scale misses the point of social media. He's a nationally visible figure engaged in sharply partisan politics. It's not at all surprising that, especially during a campaign, he'd be targeted by a few hundred people a day who had unkind things to say to him. Likewise, with Trump Jr.'s anecdotes, get dozens of people who've had posts deleted for unclear reasons or whose privileges were temporarily suspended, as Trump's social media director was on Tuesday. For some reason, layer on top random people not clicking the button they thought they had, and you've got proof of a conspiracy. No member of the Trump family has ever offered an explanation for the why. Why would Facebook, though through Instagram, try to keep the people from clicking like on a photo of Trump Jr.'s kids? What's the benefit? There's clearly a reason to crack down on abusive behavior, but what's the benefit to the companies in cracking down on conservatives as conservatives? The only answer given is some version of they implicitly or explicitly hate conservatives, a claim that's often bolstered by pointing to the same perceived censorship. Having Trump Jr. complain about getting an Instagram post removed is one thing. Having the president declare, based on the same sketchy evidence, that he must do something about the perceived censorship is something else again. Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. We are something else again. Come back with us. Join us on the phones. They're open and toll-free, 844-967-2789. We might cut you short, but we never censor you.
Sit down, Danny.
Listen, miss.
I've sentenced boys younger than you to the gas chamber. Didn't want to do it till I owed it.
Would that be obstruction?
Yes.
By the way, not in my opinion, in the opinion of hundreds of thousands of people on Twitter. How about a Fresca?
All workers benefit from unions, as unions create the highest standard in wages, health and welfare, retirement security, and workplace protections. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, President of Teamsters General Local 200. Your voice is your strength. The ability to build a stronger and better tomorrow begins today. Teamster Local 200 represents workers in numerous industries, and our team is ready to sit down with you and your co-workers to build your unified team. Call Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit us on Facebook or www.teamsterslocal200.com.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella. As Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines, I work hard to be a leader in my industry, and I know the challenges posed by changing technology. It's my priority to make sure your network is up over 99% of the time. There's no question, trying to manage your own business IT is risky, costly, and time-consuming. Don't let IT overwhelm you. Learn more about Five Nines at fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Teens in foster care will love you, even if you don't know the lingo.
Dad bod, noun. The result of the occasional donut, always washed down with confidence.
Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council. Visit adoptuskids.org.
When you shop Goodwill, you don't just bring home a vintage dress or cat lamp. You bring home so much good to your community, because everything you buy funds local job training and more. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
This is Dom from the Devil's Advocates. You know, in the 7 years that Crudy and I have been doing the show, we have never had a more engaged, dialed in, and motivated audience, and we love them for it. Now is the time for you to reach the greatest audience ever. Call now, advertise with the Devil's Advocates and Real Resistance Radio. Market your products or services, get your message out, join the resistance. Call us at 414-635-0872. That's 414-635-0872, or go to realresistanceradio.com.
The Devil's Advocates. Rock and roll political commentary in a top 40 world.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. You can join this political party anytime, toll free at 844-967-2789.
Dom, you and I share a Twitter feed, at least the Devil's Advocates radio page at Devil Radio. We share it. I'd like to see if I can get you banned. What'd you do? I'm sure I could do something.
I don't know, man. What do you got to do to get banned from Twitter? I mean, you got to send
I've never even been put in Facebook
I
jail.
know. What are we doing wrong?
I have seen our Facebook page come under assault from the Wisconsin Nazis, KNOTZIES, the Nazis, not your Wisconsin is what they used to claim, but Nazis. They were effectively Nazis. And they put our page under assault one night. I think you were vacationing. It was not a good night. I banned and blocked and banned and blocked. But that's what you do, Devin. You don't call the lawyer and put out some frivolous lawsuit in the federal courts.
$250 million.
Unless he's successful, and then I'm following suit.
And then everyone's in on it.
Natty ain't got no humanity.
Let's get some callers. And Ron from San Diego, you're up. Thanks for calling, Ron. What do you got today?
Hey, so I got a few theories on Trump. I know you got a little time here. First, he doesn't care to know, and he doesn't know to care. Both of those things are true. Number two, he is so full of projection. He learned the word collude, so he figured he might as well use it as many other places as he has to in order to deflect and people think he doesn't collude.
Well, and it helps to desensitize the word as well, Ron, but please continue, sir.
I read the first chapter, actually, of the book Fear by Woodward, and that's all I could take. But, you know, when Bannon met with him and said, you have to be pro-life, he's like, oh, yeah, I'm pro-life. Didn't even know what it meant. But he said, yeah, I am. That's who I am. It's like, the guy's got nothing there except nothing. That's all I got to say.
Hey, Ron, did you hear I looked it up? Bernie Sanders coming to San Diego for you this Friday, buddy.
Okay. All right, I'll go.
That event, doors open at 4. 5:30 is the big event. Bernie Sanders in San Diego, buddy.
I'll hold up a sign, WRRD.
Yeah.
Do it, Ron. Thank you for the call. Appreciate it. We've seen Bernie Sanders in San Diego, as it was pointed out on the show yesterday. It was a fun event at Qualcomm. Sounds more impressive that way.
Well, we were in the parking lot.
Parking lot at Qualcomm.
I mean, they set up a stage, and it was a big event, no doubt.
You know, but
it was still the parking lot.
Renting a place in an NFL stadium parking lot is not quite the same as filling up an NFL stadium for a political rally. I bet you Bernie could have done it, though. Maybe not in Orange County. Maybe
not in San Diego.
Not in San Diego. Certainly. Camp Randall and Madison. I bet he could fill that up.
Maybe. He did win a lot of counties in Wisconsin.
How long do you think before Bernie Sanders comes to rally in our state?
I
bet between now and summer.
I think it'll be quick.
We'll be at that one. We'll do it live. Come back with us. The happy hour is upon us. More of your phone calls. 844-967-2789.
Want to be more presidential? Tweet the Devil's Advocates at Devil Radio.
Natty ain't got no humanity. They're the foot soldiers of a Jew-hating, mass-murdering maniac, and they need to be destroyed.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
The Forum, hosted by Sherwin Hughes. Kim, you're on the air. How are you?
I came here from Dallas. I'm white. I was kind of amazed at how segregated Milwaukee is compared to Dallas. When people move to areas because they have, quote, better schools, I've kind of learned that's a dog whistle.
Yes, it is.
Especially up here.
It will not be what you expect to hear, but we will definitely give you what you need to know.
Us liberals don't always see it this way, but we need to.
Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to noon, exclusively on Real Resistance Radio.
You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com.
The Russia probe, New Zealand attack. I'm Ann Cates. Hundreds of records have been made public today linked to the probe into former Trump personal attorney Michael Cohen.
The search warrants were heavily redacted, but they showed that federal investigators were looking into Michael Cohen's emails as early as July of 2017. A federal judge allowed Robert Mueller's team to review Cohen's emails and other online data before the case was passed on to the U.S. attorney here in New York. The warrants also show that the feds tried to protect attorney-client privilege. Mueller's investigation also received permission on 2 occasions to track Cohen's phone calls. Anything in the search warrants pertaining to the campaign finance portion of the investigation was blacked out. Steve Kastenbaum, New York.
The live streaming of the deadly New Zealand mosque attack continues to come under criticism. Correspondent Ivan Watson.
The 3 largest broadband providers in New Zealand published a joint open letter to the heads of Facebook, Google, and Twitter, saying that they have to take more responsibility for their content. Facebook has said, for its part, that in the first 24 hours after the attacks, it removed some 1.5 million copies of the video that the suspect live streamed as he started his killing spree.
The owner of the Super Bowl champion New England Patriots may be spared prosecution on charges of soliciting prostitution in Florida. Correspondent Rosa Flores.
Prosecutors here in Florida have offered Robert Kraft a deal, some sort of prosecution deal that would drop the charges. But the catch is that he would have to admit that if this were to go to trial, that he would be found guilty.
The 77-year-old billionaire is set to be arraigned on March 28th. His attorney could not be immediately reached for comment. On Wall Street, the Dow Jones Industrial Average fell 27 points. The S&P down a fraction. The Nasdaq up 9. I'm Ann Cates.
Have a drink at Regano's Roman Coin. This neighborhood corner tavern is as classic as the street it occupies. Family owned and operated since 1966, Regano's Roman Coin is located in the former Pabst Tide House on historic Brady Street, serving an array of craft beers with a focus on Wisconsin breweries. Also, weekly drink specials, trivia on Wednesdays, seasonal sporting events, parties hosted for all occasions, and pet friendly. Open 11 a.m. Tuesday through Friday, 10 a.m. Saturday and Sunday, closed on Monday. Regano's Roman Coin, Milwaukee's pet friendly, cash only order and classic corner tavern.
Most of my family, they never graduated high school, so I'm trying to break that barrier. My daughter Brooklyn was also a motivation for me to go back to school. Every day after work, went straight to school, and it paid off.
At age 26, Kareem finished his high school diploma.
I could not have done it alone. I see the future is really bright for me.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Another one of baseball's biggest stars is headed for a historic payday.
Mike Trout is on the verge of a 12-year, $430 million contract extension with the Los Angeles Angels, according to ESPN. Trout's deal would also smash the massive contract just signed by Bryce Harper, 13 years, $330 million with the Philadelphia Phillies. This should end speculation that Trout, a New Jersey native, would join Harper in Philly once his contract expired next year. The 27-year-old is also a 2-time American League MVP and was scheduled to become a free agent in 2020. I'm Joe Ramsey.
Novelist Tommy Orange keeps winning awards. The author of There, the most honored literary debut of 2018, has received the PEN/Hemingway Award for Distinguished New Novel. It was also named Best New Work by the National Book Critics Circle and got first novel prize from the Center for Fiction. There is set in the San Francisco Bay Area. Its story about a loosely connected community of Native Americans. I'm Ann Cates.
No word in the English language is less convincing than probably.
Are you sure we should get matching tattoos on our first date?
Sure. We'll probably stay together.
Probably? It's been 23 minutes since I ate. I can probably swim.
You should wait 30 minutes.
Okay, now tell me what to do. Cannonball! Cramp! Oh, I have a cramp.
I can probably hit the green from here.
Probably.
Can I get a mulligan?
Ready to go?
Hey, are you sure you're okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm pretty sober. Yeah, I'm probably okay.
Probably okay isn't okay, especially when it comes to drinking and driving. If you're drinking, call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. More than 4,200 people have already signed up to volunteer for the Democratic National Convention, according to a story in the Journal Sentinel. About 12,000 volunteers will be needed for the convention, which will take place in July of next year. If you would like to volunteer, you can sign up at Milwaukee2020.com. And a ruling is expected soon in the case challenging the Republican lame duck laws that would limit the powers of Governor Evers and Attorney General Josh Kaul. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison. Tonight, mostly clear, lows in the low 30s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, highs in the upper 40s. For Thursday, sunshine with highs near 50 degrees. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio.
Warning, you are about to listen to the greatest radio show ever. And due to contractual obligations and to shield our airwaves corporate licensees from any semblance of liability, responsibility, and gullibility, we must tell you the views represented on this show are not necessarily those of this station or its management. This radio show contains differing points of view on current political topics, and due to the nature of its contents, it should be heard by everyone. Thank you for listening.
3, 2, 1.
Now live from the heart of liberal Wisconsin, where the political party is just beginning, welcome to the Devil's Advocate Show. Best friends proving it's never personal, only politics.
Please allow me to introduce myself.
Now here are your hosts, Dom and Crute.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. Dominic, we are sliding into the 5 o'clock happy hour, and I've got some good news. You'll be happy, I think, maybe.
Maybe what?
Here's the good news, Dom. Foxconn says they're building a factory in Wisconsin.
What? Of course they are. They signed a contract on the back of a napkin a long time ago. Why are we still talking about this?
Well, apparently they felt it was newsworthy. I mean, specifically the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel and their journalist, Rick Rommel, think it's newsworthy because Foxconn apparently is not going to honor precisely what was in the contract, Dom, but at least they're building something quickly. Foxconn Technology Group said Monday that the next phases of construction on its announced flat-screen plant in Racine County will begin by this summer.
Oh, sure.
The plant, not what they contracted on, but a Gen 6 liquid crystal display panel factory, or fab, will begin production in the fourth quarter of 2020, the company said. Now, what's in the fourth quarter of 2020?
Maybe a presidential election.
Oh, yeah,
Good
Don.
timing.
The announcement follows talks last week between state and local officials and Louis Wu. Isn't that Mr. Foxconn? Special assistant to Foxconn founder and CEO Terry Gao. Wu's visit to Wisconsin came 6 weeks after reports that Foxconn might not locate a factory in Mount Pleasant after all.
Thank you, Mr. Foxconn.
Yeah, reports that prompted President Donald Trump to contact Gao with the company on February 1st, subsequently renewing its earlier pledge to build a manufacturing plant. Now they've renewed their plans again, Dom. It's like a marriage. You renew your vows.
Is that what it is?
Like every couple months. Because when you've got no credibility.
You're talking about the Republicans in Wisconsin or Foxconn?
Can it be both?
It can.
You going to do a little of the reading, buddy? I told you certainly. I'm tired. I got my feet kicked up.
Oh, man,
here.
I got to hear. Monday's announcements reiterated the February 1st statement with added details on timing. Yes, we're reiterating the statement we previously made that we're really not backing off the contract we already signed.
Did they include something about Scott Walker solving a $3.6 billion budget deficit?
Don't get me going, man. Don't get me going. The first request, here we go. Besides saying construction will move forward in summer, Foxconn said it will award contracts by April 1st for work on utilities, roads, and storm drainage at the Mount Pleasant site.
April 1st? That's April Fool's Day, and we must all be fools if we're believing what Foxconn says at this late hour, but please continue.
The first request for bids for construction of the Gen 6 factory and associated buildings will be issued in May, Foxconn said. Information sessions for contractors interested in bidding will be held on April 3rd and April 10th. The company said times and locations have not been released. Let's just do a whole full stop here, first of all, ladies and gentlemen. They said they were going to build a Gen 10.5, right? And now we're getting a 6. Is that, I mean, should we have the conversation about whether or not they have violated the terms of the contract? Let's just go there. I mean, before we're going to do all these other things, can we determine who's in charge of this thing? Can we find out whether or not legally they have already broken the contract by doing a Gen 6?
My understanding, Dom, and I have sought outside counsel on this, perhaps they are meeting the essence of the deal. They're building a factory, so what if they shave 4.5 generations off the technology that they're going to produce?
Yeah, but the whole supply chain is different now, right? You don't need Corning coming in. I mean, it's not just, we're going to build a smaller factory. This is entirely a different beast than what was negotiated on the back of the napkin and ultimately turned into a contract.
Well, Dominic, the only reasonable rationale to do the original deal when it was a 10.5 generation factory was the ancillary businesses and the ancillary jobs created. So if you do a 10.6, if you shave 4.5 generations off, Dom, should we shave like $4.5 billion off of what we're paying Foxconn?
Sounds perfect to me. Continuing on in the Journal Sentinel, Racine County Executive Jonathan Delgrave called Monday's news a great announcement. We're really excited that we're going to finally see this happen. But you're not going to get what you wanted, sir. Does that bother you? What if they just say, hell, we're just going to build some apartment buildings? Would that be okay? Hell, they're still building something, right?
Would they be eligible for the taxpayer-paid incentives? Let's call this cash, because Foxconn is a manufacturing group under the current tax laws in the state of Wisconsin would not be subject, 0.4%, but effectively would not be subject to state taxation no matter how successful they might be, Dom.
Last week's talks with Wu, who also met with Governor Tony Evers, weren't in reaction to the reports that Foxconn might back away from doing manufacturing in Wisconsin. Delgrave said, here's his quote. We've always been in contact with Foxconn. What prompted this meeting was that they finally developed what their first phase looked like, and they were ready to talk about it. Building the airplane while they're trying to take off, right, Crute? Delgrave said he and Jenny Trick, executive director of the Racine County Economic Development Corporation, had a candid conversation with Wu on such topics such as employment and what the factory will look like. Foxconn remains committed to creating 13,000 jobs, with Racine County getting at least half of them plus one, Delgrave said. I remain committed to slam dunking a basketball. Taiwan-based Foxconn announced in 2017 it would build an enormous, now not so enormous, LCD production complex in the U.S., prompting competition among states. We know the story, an unprecedented $3 billion in tax breaks, another $1 billion from local government. My toll, Crudy, is what? $4.5 billion. The projects and subsidies have become divisive political issues, with Trump and former Republican Governor Walker backing Foxconn, many Democrats criticizing the deal, and skeptics, count me as one, suggesting Foxconn will back away from its slated plans as it has elsewhere. And again, if they're not building, I mean, I know what you said, Crudy. You said you talked to an attorney who believes that maybe the spirit of the contract,
the essence. They've honored the essence. They're building a factory, but maybe not the contracted factory.
But that's the point, then. Why not? Why describe the specific factory they're going to build, which comes with specific supply chain requirements, and then back off? I still think this needs to be settled before any contractors go and do business with this company. I would be very hesitant, Crudy.
You would have to also assume that the state of Wisconsin wants to breach this contract. I don't mean the state would breach it, but the state would try to demonstrate that the other party to this contract, Foxconn Technologies, they are in breach. They aren't producing what the contract said. But their legally defensible position would be they're honoring the essence of the contract, the spirit of the contract. They're building something, be it apartments, or whatever.
That's a bunch of bull. Anyway, so the article goes into the back and forth, of course, over the last several weeks. Since then, Foxconn officials have said the company's relationship with Evers is productive as the Democratic governor asked them for transparency. And on Monday, Evers took credit for their latest announcement.
Be careful what you take credit for.
I'm with you here. Here's what the governor's spokeswoman, Melissa Baldoff, said. Quote, as the Foxconn project develops, there will be ongoing conversations to ensure that taxpayers see a good return on their investment. But today's announcements by Foxconn makes it clear that Governor Evers is getting results. Now, let's just stop there for a moment. Number one, Wisconsin taxpayers see a good return on their investment. Let's remember, the return that everyone is talking about was calculated garbage in, garbage out. These were numbers created by the Republicans, given to the LFB to crunch, and they came out and said 25 years. And I will say it again, as I've said it 100 times, that does not include discounted cash flows. They do not take into account the time value of money, inflation in these calculations. So we've had economists on this show. There is never going to be a return on the investment. It's not going to be in 25 years. It's going to be never. So Melissa Baldoff, Tony Evers, LFB, Republican, Democrats, how about we do a new calculation? Let's find out what this return will be using real inputs, real numbers. If you can't put this information into a prospectus and turn around and sell it to someone in the private market trying to raise some money, then why the hell would you put garbage on a piece of paper and shove it down the Wisconsin taxpayer's throat? This is never going to pay off, and until you show me something otherwise, I'm going to continue to believe that, because what you've shown us so far, created by the Republicans, was pure garbage, ask any economist.
So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
Crew, do you want to take this off, or should I continue?
Well, I've got to be careful because I often step on the gubernator's toes. The new gubernator, Tony Evers, here's what I would say. Let's set aside this article. Let's set aside this thought that they're actually going to build something, and let's give it at least another 48 hours to see what sort of revision we may get from the governor's office or from Foxconn.
I asked Monday whether he would consider it a breach of contract if Foxconn doesn't build the larger 10.5 plant. Delgrave said, like any good partners, we're going to sit down and talk about what the Gen 6 means versus the Gen 10. But we're excited to have the Gen 6 here, and I think it's a huge step forward. Now, whether they expand the Gen 6 or build another Gen 6, or maybe that Gen 6 turns into a Gen 10, that's all up for discussion in terms of looking at the next phases. But
if they're building the plant, you have to build it. The 10.5 generation is actually a measure of size. It just means, can you utilize these massive pieces of glass, which would have to come from very nearby, can't really ship out these, 10.5 foot pieces of glass. I mean, you're talking about substantial LCD screens. But when you talk about a much smaller piece of glass, Dom, well, suddenly you don't need the ancillary suppliers nearby. The ones that were supposed to actually create the jobs that might actually help the state of Wisconsin get some return on investment that the new governor, the Democratic governor, the guy that got elected in some small part by the good people of Wisconsin that opposed this Foxconn deal, be very careful embracing this deal, Tony Evers.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I know you're the governor now, but this is sounding more and more every day like Tony Evers' problem. And you could say, today there's no problem, but give it 48 hours, and you just might have another problem as the ever-evolving factory built on a foundation of sand and Republican lies. Don't buy in. Don't believe the hype, Tony. I don't believe it. You should not believe it. And, it's one thing to be optimistic, but don't BS the people of the state of Wisconsin.
And let's find out whether or not they have legally broken the contract, and let's find out what the real ROI, the return on investment, will be for this project using real employment numbers and real-time value of money numbers. I mean, this is an absolute joke for these Democrats now have the ability to recalculate this. They better do it. I mean, otherwise, they own it entirely. And finally, Assembly Minority Speaker Gordon Hintz, a Democrat from Oshkosh, suggested Monday the state should find a way way out of providing Foxconn with taxpayer subsidies, given the top company executives' admission that they're, remember what they said, in terms of TV, we have no place in the U.S. Hintz is a board member of the Wisconsin Economic Development Corporation, which oversees the state's contract with Foxconn and distributes tax credits to the company. Here's his quote. Why would Wisconsin be interested in giving taxpayer dollars for a project that Foxconn said cannot be competitive? Hintz said in a tweet, it makes no sense for Wisconsin to invest in LCD industry that is cost sensitive and products have short life cycles. Why build a plant for products with excess capacity and no demand? I concur, Mr. Hintz.
Can we just look at legalizing marijuana? I know it's off topic, but that would create 17,000 jobs in the state of Wisconsin. That would create $200 million of positive revenue for the state of Wisconsin. And we, the taxpayers, would be on the freaking hook for $4.5 billion, $3 billion of that, whether or not they ever employ a single human being. What a great deal you made for the people, Scott Walker. And Tony Evers, I'm so proud that you picked up the mantle, the baton, and you're bringing it home for the good people of the state of Wisconsin. And that I'm sure, Dom, it'll pay off in spades and droves. We'll all be rolling in the cash. Thank you, Mr. Foxconn. Come back with us. Devil's Advocates phone lines open, 844-967-2789.
The Foxconn deal that WEDC cut with Foxconn was a very expensive deal for the state of Wisconsin.
If this factory goes under, the whole town goes under.
Thank you, Mr. Foxconn.
So what I told you was true, from a certain point of view.
And that's when the whores come in.
Foxconn will help Wisconsin win the 21st century.
Everybody wanted Foxconn. I hate to say it, if I didn't get elected, they wouldn't be in this country. They would not have done this in this country. I think you know that very well.
Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison, resisting dirty carpets and harsh chemicals. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We're not using any soaps. We're not using any chemicals. We cost about the same as the other guys. You look at it and you go, where's the downside? You got a completely green clean. It's awesome. We guarantee it. There's no downside.
There's no downside. Use Zero Res. Call Zero Res today. 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
Knowing your breasts can save your life. Go to knowyourgirls.org for the facts you need on breast health. Brought to you by Susan G. Komen and the Ad Council.
Everybody knows somebody who's going to forget.
That's my husband.
Chris, my best friend.
Mi hermano, Humberto.
But now, Wisconsin requires voters to show a photo ID at the polls before casting their ballot in the upcoming elections. So remind someone you know to remember their
military ID,
Wisconsin driver license,
or free Wisconsin state ID.
There are several different IDs you can use. Visit bringit.wisconsin.gov or call 1-866-VOTE-WIS for the complete list. And don't forget to bring it.
Tráelo.
Bring it to the ballot.
Sponsored by the Wisconsin Elections Commission.
Hi, it's Olivia Munn with my shelter pets, Frankie and Chance, reminding you that when you adopt a shelter pet, you discover all the things that make them unique. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
It's a lot easier to measure how many times students use a semicolon correctly in an essay.
Educated educators talking education.
Than it is to measure how many wonderful ideas are in that essay.
Busted Pencils.
There is no teacher shortage.
With Dr. Tim Slecker.
There is a teacher exodus.
Featuring Matt Damon's mom.
You want to know what my mom would say?
We've had an intrusion into education.
Busted Pencils Radio. Saturdays at 11 on Resistance Radio.
Occupy didn't start on Wall Street. It started on our street. Dom and Cruz, the Devil's Advocates.
And we are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show. You beautiful people can join us on the phones at 844-967-2789. Let's get to them. Betsy, you are up. Thanks for calling. What do you got for us today?
Well,
I think Foxconn is just a con job, and what do they call this, rope-a-dope or what? Oh, God, I'm just sick of it. But back to Devin Nunes, what did the Republicans do to make sure that the Russians don't interject in our 2020 election? Like
little
they
or
did in
nothing?
2016.
Sort of.
Yeah, and then they can, yeah.
I was looking for one more word. I was going to say squat, bub kiss, but please continue.
Oh, it's just so asinine that he's suing Twitter. I mean, it's just more gaslighting. I don't know. I almost have to just shut my mind down because these guys are trying to make me crazy. It's just like, really? And, you know, the sad part is that Trump is very dangerous. He's very dangerous for this great country of ours. And I just wish that, you know, people with, right thinking, I mean, they give him every excuse in the book, and he's totally unqualified. He's totally inept. He's an embarrassment to our country, and he is also spreading hatred and violence throughout the world. And it is frightening. I really don't want him to be running for president. I wish someone would primary him. I wish there would be a hero Republican just to say no.
Well, there might be, Betsy, but that's not going to be an effective tact. I mean, Donald Trump.
Nice. It's not nice. It's not good.
Donald Trump will be the Republican nominee, perhaps the last Republican nominee of all time.
Come on, man. I'm not going to go there. Thank you for the call, Betsy. Don't let Trump wear you down. I hear what you're saying, and I get it, man. It gets overwhelming sometimes because every time you turn around, every time he says something, he just offends so many on so many levels. But have heart. Take heart. He'll be gone soon.
Dominic, do you know what day this is of the Trump presidency? It is day 789. And Donald Trump gets 1,460 days. So, Betsy, only 670 more days of Trump. And then perhaps a wake-up.
I did see some Republican, perhaps it was Jeb Bush. There's folks out there. Yeah, I think it was
Jeb Bush did say that Trump should get primaried. And everyone said, that's a great idea, as long as it's not Jeb.
I think someone should run just because Republicans ought to be given a choice. It's hard to beat a sitting president, but to have a conversation about what it is to be a conservative, I think it's important. Well, we all know what it is to be a conservative.
Hell yeah, I would.
You raw dog porn stars. You lie every day. 9,000 plus and counting.
Hell yeah, I would.
Yeah, we know it already. Campaign finance violations.
Hell yeah, I would.
Coordinating, conspiring with.
Hell yeah, I would.
Foreign actors to win presidencies. We know all about it.
Dominic, the last party to primary a sitting president, to my memory, was the Democrats in 1980. It was Teddy Kennedy, and it didn't work out so well for the peanut farmer, Jimmy Carter. Come back with us. More happy hour, more of your calls. 844-967-2789. Only the beautiful people allowed here.
Politics is boring. You're doing it wrong. Check out more at domandcroot.com.
The collusion delusion.
Hell yeah, I would.
As humans, we ask ourselves all kinds of questions. But what if we were forced to ask ourselves a question every day that affected the outcome of the most basic things, the most important things in our lives? The question is, what is your sexual orientation or gender identity? And the answer is the difference between keeping your job or getting fired. The answer is the difference between staying in your home or getting evicted. The answer is the difference between receiving medical treatment or not. Because in 31 states, it's legal to discriminate against people based on their answer to this question. LGBT Americans have the right to say I do, but they don't have the same basic rights as everyone else. Get the facts at beyondido.org. Brought to you by the Gill Foundation and the Ad Council.
You are listening to Real Resistance Radio, WRRD 1510 AM Waukesha and WTTN 1580 AM Columbus. Always streaming at realresistanceradio.com. Brad Zog, owner of Zero Res Madison. Brad, why should people use Zero Res Madison?
Why wouldn't you clean your carpets like this? We've got a patented system. We also do another step that most people don't do. We have a double rotating brush machine that we use when we pre-treat the carpet. So this helps dig up any of that stuff that's deeper in your carpet that the vacuum doesn't get. We're going to provide that intermediary step before we clean with our empowered water.
Call Zero Res today, 608-848-9000. Zero Res. Spell it forward or backward. It's the right way to clean.
I don't see the support. I don't support it.
Wisconsin Senate Majority Leader Scott Fitzgerald doesn't see the support for legalized medicinal marijuana, even though the 2018 midterm referendum in 11 counties and the city of Waukesha passed by over 79%. Call Scott Fitzgerald at 608-266-5660. Tell him you support legalized medicinal marijuana.
No, I don't see it.
This message was paid for by the People for People Corporation. Donate online at p4ppc.org. P4ppc.org.
Hi, I'm Anton Capella. As Chief Technology Officer at Five Nines, it's my job to make sure your network is up 99.999% of the time. Technology is constantly evolving, and keeping your business up to date in an ever-changing environment can be a hassle. At Five Nines, we're here to help. Five Nines is more than just our name. It's the level of service you can expect. Better IT gives your business a competitive advantage. Learn how Five Nines can help at fivenines.com. That's the number 5, NINES.com.
Once again, the American public has some reading to do. In a 29-page indictment today, Americans need to take a look at page 6, paragraph 20, and here come those important 8 words: to interfere with the 2016 U.S. presidential election. That is it.
Jim, I'm going to make a confession on behalf of the panel. Dom's not going to read the indictments.
Come on, maybe.
The Devil's Advocates, political commentary from the back of the class.
For Real Resistance Radio, I'm Stu Daniels with your headlines. More than 4,200 people have already signed up to volunteer for the Democratic National Convention, according to a story in the Journal Sentinel. A Milwaukee man has been charged in the death of his 17-year-old girlfriend after she was killed while attempting to rob another woman. The Shopko company, based in Ashwaubenon, says it will liquidate its assets and close all remaining stores by mid-June. And the Bucks were off last night. They'll take on LeBron James and the Lakers tonight at Fiserv Forum. Forecast for Milwaukee and Madison tonight: mostly clear, lows in the low 30s. Tomorrow, mostly cloudy, highs in the upper 40s. For Thursday, sunshine with highs near 50 degrees. You're listening to Real Resistance Radio.
The Devil's Advocates. Sausage making never looked so good.
One of these days, the ground will drop.
Welcome back to the Devil's Advocates Radio Show. We are in the midst of the 5 o'clock happy hour. And I'm happy because it's almost nap time. But before we get back to the phones, and if you'll be patient, Jake and Brock, we'll get to you next. 844-967-2789. But Dominic, I saw this story at the Raw story, and this headline so compelling. I told you I was talking about polling. Another Audible, buddy.
You just told me like 2 minutes ago. Man.
It was more like a minute ago, but I've already found something more intriguing. Shiny objectism. Official White House economic report claims Jabba the Hutt and Batman are Trump interns.
What?
An official government budget report claimed that Batman, Spider-Man, and John Cleese were all White House economics interns in 2018. Martha Gimbel, a former Labor Department and Council of Economic Advisors official who now works at the research director for the job posting site Indeed, tweeted a screenshot Tuesday afternoon of the president's 2018 economic report that included Cleese, Peter Parker, Bruce Wayne, and others as interns.
Now you want to get nuts? Come on.
Let's get nuts.
The economic report of the president has revealed the quality of the interns at the CEA is much better than it was when I was there, Gimbel tweeted. We never got cool ones like Steve Rogers, Bruce Wayne, Peter Parker, Aunt May, and John Cleese. And along with Spider-Man and Batman, the report also claimed that Parker's beloved Aunt May, Star Trek's famous Captain Catherine Janeway, Game of Thrones Jon Snow, misspelled John, and Star Wars Jabba the Hutt, JT Hutt, are also CEA interns. As of press time, the 711-page official CEA report still includes the references to fictional characters. I will spare you the reaction, the Twitterverse, sort of alive with this story, Dom, but I thought it was at least worth a brief conversation.
Who's the more foolish, the fool or the fool who follows it?
The fool who follows him, of course. But Crudy, I don't know. I don't want to assume. Are these paid internships? I mean, was someone doing like a no-show job, like a mob deal? What?
I'm not at all clear, Dom, but when they talk about Jabba the Hutt, are they talking about the character or the president?
It could be the president.
If we don't win this fight, then that is the fate of every person in the world.
You know, rebellions are built on hope.
I've heard that. 844-967-2789. This show built on caller contributions like Brock's from HorrorCon. Welcome back, Brock. What do you got for us today?
Hey, guys, say this Foxconn deal from the jump was a horrible one. I remember when Walker first ran for government, the ads about him not attending college or the stories about him not attending college. I think that's a red flag.
Well, he attended. He just didn't so much graduate.
Oh, my God. Well, I don't think he learned anything either, so there's that. Even if all those plants would have went in, the first time the taxpayers would have seen any positive growth was going to be like, 2045 or something like that?
2043, sir. 2043, Brock. I mean, that's a small price to pay for a future 25-year starting to break even return, sir.
Well, what I'm wondering is, LCD TVs and that kind of thing, that doesn't really seem like the best idea. Why wouldn't you go with somebody that made, like microprocessors or something that's in every device that we use? You would have had a lot smaller footprint, and you actually probably could have made some money getting it started up, and I think it could be competitive with the places that make them in China. Instead, we're chasing around somebody that's going to make large LCD flat screen TVs. Wherever could that go wrong? Why don't we just have an Easter egg factory? I mean, it's unbelievable. Just that, and I don't know what policy, I'm not sure what policy the Republicans have that isn't off of the same island inhabited by, like, Puff the Magic Dragon and some Pokemon characters. Their touch with reality is staggering. You hear Scott Fitzgerald talk. I don't know if he has, like, dementia or Alzheimer's, or he's drunk, or he doesn't care.
Ding, 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 ding.
All of those.
It's the last one, Brock.
It just staggers my imagination how people time and time again stick up for these clowns and then vote for them. It's almost like that Eddie Murphy movie where he gets voted in because he has the same last name as the senator that died. They just keep voting for him. I don't even think they know I don't know what his platform is, because he's not for anything that's for anybody that's ever voted for him. Is he for big pharma stuff? Sure. Is he for big corporations? Sure. He's from frickin' Juneau, Wisconsin. None of that stuff exists there. So
but Brock,
I don't get what...
But Brock, here's the deal, though. They have banks in Juneau, and they're all about cashing checks.
Yeah, that must be what it is. He's worried about lining his own pocket. You said something about those people are aspirational voters. I don't know what kind of aspirations they have, but under the current economic system, there's no way they would ever achieve those aspirations. So that to me would be delusional voters, not aspirational. I'll hang up and listen to what you guys have to say. Keep up the good work. Later.
Later, Brock. Thanks, man. I guess I would say this. Number one, and I'm going to repeat myself, so bear with me, Brock. That 25-year, that 21-year, whatever, that break even, it's bunk. It's never going to happen. They use garbage numbers and their variables to come up with a number that was somewhat palatable. That is never going to happen. We've had guests on the show, economists that are way smarter than I am in that particular topic in that field, and they have said this will never pay out.
844-967-2789. Let's get back to the phones. Jake, you're next. Welcome, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. 2 points. One, with Republicans and Twitter and Facebook, they're just doing the old playing the refs playbook. I mean, it's so old and redone. They don't have any new ideas. That's what they did, like ABC, NBC, mainstream media. Same thing. It's what they're doing right now. So, but, they almost have free reign over there anyways. So it's kind of a joke.
So, Jacob, but help me understand. I mean, obviously, is this just to stir things up to have something to talk about now? So we're not talking about these warrants that were released in the Cohen indictments. I mean, what is the end result? What is the purpose of it other than distraction? I mean, do you think there's any there?
The purpose is to push Facebook, Twitter, and all the other ones to not police the Republicans and conservatives for being terrible human beings and breaking the code all the time. Because if you look at Twitter and Facebook, who has spread white supremacy and all this stuff really well? Those have been. And the white supremacists are Republican shock troops. I mean, we know that. I mean, and they help white supremacy. I mean, that's what they do. And that's their enforcers. And unfortunately, it's even worse now. My other point is Foxconn. They're just stringing us along. They're trying to get Tony or the Republicans to break it so they can, cut away and either back sue us or just get out of the deal.
Jake, they can walk away from the deal. My understanding, and, I'm no Foxconn expert, but no one really is because it's an ever-changing playing field. But my understanding, Jake, there is nothing that would prevent Foxconn from walking away from the table at any time. There are no clawback provisions for us. Now, Scott Walker will tell you, well, we don't spend any money unless they create jobs. It's a very low threshold of jobs. 520 jobs this year. They get paid 2 years, millions and millions of dollars, Jake. Almost $1 million per job or more, my understanding.
Yeah, but why build anything if you can see what Talgo did? They got royally screwed and just be like, hey, Wisconsin broke the deal.
But Scott Walker broke that deal with Talgo. Our friend Matt Flynn, a gubernatorial candidate and a pretty smart attorney in his own right, would tell you, you go to court and you beat them in the court, and you're not subject to any fees or expense if you're vindicated through the courts. That would be the way to do it. But Tony Evers hasn't taken Matt's advice and certainly hasn't taken my advice. But Tony Evers apparently is embracive of this plan, or he wouldn't be dropping pressers telling us how he's got it back on track.
Well, I kind of agree with what you're going. Tony is going to screw himself over and the rest of us by just trying to take victory from nothing. I mean, Foxconn is going to back away from this deal, and they're going to try to get it where Wisconsin pays them money and gives them money for getting out of it.
But why not, Jake? Here's what I don't understand, man. Why not take the aggressive role? Hey, you promised us a 10-5. What's this 6 BS? I mean, it's very simple. It's in the contract. We can all go on the website and read where it says 10-5. You know what I'm saying? Why this everybody hemming and hawing and all, this is all because we have a great working relationship. I mean, this whole thing's built on a lie. They're already backing off of what they contracted to. Why not just stick it out there and say, hey, stand up and yell it from the rooftops. Foxconn is backing out. They're not building what they say they're going to build. We want to renegotiate. Boom. Why won't they do that?
Because he doesn't have the backbone to do it. And I think I'm coming to that point now after these 3 months that he is not strong enough to actually fight. I mean, he puts stuff out there. He puts things out there. But when it comes to actually being like, okay, throw it down, I'm going to put my foot down, it's not going to happen. He's going to be a lot like Doyle.
You know why Foxconn, and Jake, I appreciate that, but you know why Foxconn doesn't want to break this deal? They got a great freaking deal. And they don't have to ever create the 13,000 jobs. They don't have to build a 10.5G factory to get massive incentives. There's no upside for them to walk away. They get paid whether or not they create a single job. Budkiss. We're on the hook, I believe, $1.6 billion that aren't predicated on a single job being created.
Infrastructure, hundreds of millions of dollars have already been spent.
And Dominic, this year, I believe 520 is the magic number, and that would make them eligible. And I've got something up here. I want to make sure I've got this correctly. The company also, and I'm quoting the Journal Times, also provided a copy of a letter dated Thursday, this is some time ago, which was signed by Louis Wu, a special assistant to Foxconn founder Terry Gou. In that letter, Wu wrote that 1,032 jobs were comprised. Oh, never mind. These are the fake jobs. They didn't hit the incentive this year, but the threshold for hitting the incentive is so very low, 520 jobs, relative to the 13,000 they're claiming. They get paid huge incentives, $1 million a job for hitting 520 jobs. They don't want to walk away from the deal. They're being massively incentivized to do anything, to build anything, to hire anyone in the state of Wisconsin. And then if highly successful and profitable, they're still not subject to taxation in the state of Wisconsin. Why would you walk away from that sweetheart deal?
And let's not forget, of course, they also get to stick a big fat straw into Lake Michigan and draw out all the water. I mean, what a sweet deal is that, let alone the environmental pass that they've gotten thus far. What's it worth to have Lake Michigan that you can draw from anytime you want?
I'm not clear. Folks, we are the Devil's Advocates. Our phone line's open. We got one short segment today, and then we're all out of time. Tomorrow on the big show, we got Congresswoman Gwen Moore in studio and perhaps other guests. I've been working on the booking for tomorrow.
All right,
today,
man.
Less so.
Keep working on it.
I told you, I was a little tired today.
I'm tapping out of my contacts, man. The Rolodex is getting dry. You gotta help me out here, brother.
You've only got like 2 entries in your Rolodex, Tom. Unless you're trying to buy weed or find someone to go drinking with. Oh, you got a Rolodex full of those kind of people. But the political sorts, those that hold higher elective office, less so.
Maybe.
That's why I do most of the booking. Your 2 names? What? Ron Johnson and who? Who's the other one?
Gwen Moore. That's all I got, man.
Well, the good news is you got one of those 2 booked tomorrow, and it's not Ron Johnson. Come back with us. Phone lines open. Your calls before the end. 844-967-2789.
They hire usually good people.
In their last moments, people show you who they really are.
I was never a fan of John McCain, and I never will be.
Whoever says that is a stupid idiot.
And here we go.
He's a war hero because he was captured. I like people that weren't captured.
You can't savor all the little emotions.
I hope. You know what that means, right?
Rebellions are built on hope.
Here in the Badger State, we have our own expressions. When we're looking to go on vacation, we state, well, let's go up north. Hello, this is Tom Bennett, president of Teamsters Local 200. Here in the Badger State, we also have another expression, union yes. The strength of the labor movement depends on elected officials here in Wisconsin and Washington, D.C. that support the values of working families that raise the standards for all. Give us a call at Teamsters Local 200 at 414-771-6363 or visit our website at www.teamsterslocal200.com or on Facebook at Teamsters Local 200. Be engaged.
Adopt US Kids presents What to Expect When You're Expecting a Teenager. Learning the lingo.
Jelly. Jelly adjective. Jelly is a shorter, better way to say jealous. As in, Chloe, I am like so jelly of your unicorn phone case.
You don't have to speak teen to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org, brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt US Kids, and the Ad Council.
The Devil's Advocates, where there's always time for Scott Walker bashing.
Welcome to our good buddy, Congressman Mark Pocan. Mark, in some small part, this little radio product, the entire rationale for buying a radio station was opposition to Scott Walker. One person's telling me, be humble, Crudy. Take a day and just be humble. And another person's telling me, no, dance on Scott Walker's grave. So, Congressman, I've always admired your sage advice. Sir, what should I do? How should I react to this?
We should waltz, we should polka, and we should two-step. We should be dancing on this right now. To your credit, and I do want to give you guys credit. In Milwaukee, we have seen a shift, especially the suburban areas, from when we had just conservative radio to having you guys there. We have seen a shift in that area, and that's important because I think when people hear ideas, we do better. And I want to thank you for being there and doing what you do.
Hashtag Walker bashing.
Bye, Felicia.
The Devil's Advocates, because freedom.
We are back. Thank you for listening to the Devil's Advocates radio show, last segment of the day. So if you've got something to say, something to contribute, please give us a call right now, 844-967-2789.
Dominic, I wanted to close a thought. Jake from Milwaukee talking about the Foxconn deal. Well, here was the point I was trying to make. I'm quoting urbanmilwaukee.com. I believe Bruce Thompson authored this piece. The state and local subsidies per job are much higher if Foxconn falls well short of the job creation targets. Better deal for Foxconn, the less jobs they create. Again, I read, under the contract, Foxconn can get the maximum capital investment credits even if it falls well short of each year's job target. For example, Foxconn can receive the maximum annual cash subsidy of nearly $193 million per year, even if it employs only 520 people at the end of this year, and that's just 25% of their target level. So they can hit 25% of their target, and they get almost $200 million, Dom.
Damn.
For 520 employees. $200 million for 520 employees. What is that, like something approaching $3.5–4 million per job created? Dom, at 1,820 at the end of 2020, which is just 35% of that year's target of 5,200 jobs, under the lower employment scenario, the job creation payments to Foxconn would be lower, but the investment subsidies are much less tied to the job levels in light of the factor, plus all the upfront subsidies that are independent of job creation. $1.6 billion, according to this article. Whether or not they ever create a job, we're on the hook for $1.6 billion. The total cost of state and local subsidies will be much higher per job if Foxconn builds a smaller plant with fewer employees than initially promised. And that's where we're at today. The huge subsidies for each job created are a concern for many reasons, including the fact that revisions to Foxconn's plans make it far less likely that the project will have the purported employment benefits for blue-collar workers in communities of color in southeast Wisconsin. Once again, if you hit 25% of the jobs, Dom, 520, they are eligible for $193 million this year.
200 million divided by 520 is $384,000 per job.
So I was way off. My bad. It's only $300,000 per job. What was I thinking? Now there are calculations I've seen where it could be something more than $1 million per job.
What about, okay, well, obviously we have our opinions on this. Lots of people have opinions. The current administration, the Evers administration, Now, over the last couple of months, we all think, well, he could do this and should do that. I mean, I think he's been wily in his political assessment of certain issues. I think if you look at the lawsuits and whatnot, I think he's played it fairly close to the chest and fairly well. I'll get your opinion on this in a moment.
Like Wile or Wile E. Coyote?
But what about this specific issue? I mean, obviously the administration has access to information that we do not. But it seems like we're still working on these old formulas, and it seems like they're trying to do everything they can to appease Foxconn instead of challenging them. I just want to get your take, Crudy. I know we've been critical at times of this administration, but do you think there's something that we're not seeing, something that we don't know that perhaps Evers and Wiedek knows that why they're going down this road and taking the tact that they are?
No, I just think it's poor political calculus on the new governor's behalf. I just think he doesn't want to be seen as an anti-jobs governor. He's going to have a big enough fight with his budget. Hell, if he even gets a budget, if he doesn't have to sign off and, Frankenstein veto a Republican-crafted budget, I just don't think he wants to pick the political fight. I think he should. I think it's a winner. I think the deal made by Scott Walker is a loser for the state of Wisconsin. I think certainly the federal court should be considered. I think between the pollution standards and the fact that this company treated uniquely under Wisconsin, under the judicial codes, right? They get a skip over the Court of Appeals. Well, that's disparate treatment for one company. That's unconstitutional. So you could use the state courts, although you might end up in the Wisconsin Supreme Court, not like the partisan outcome there. So my recommendation would be use the federal courts and fight like hell, Tony. Fight like hell. Do not roll over and embrace this deal, because then it's your deal. Then it's no longer Scott Walker's baby, no longer Donald Trump's baby. Any deal that you've got to embrace that was endorsed by Scott Walker and Donald Trump, run away, Tony. Run away from that.
Show a little backbone, will you?
Yeah, show a little backbone. Fight like hell. Do not put me and my kids and my grandkids and my grandkids' grandkids on the hook to pay a foreign corporation the largest incentive in U.S. history. And as we've talked about, and we've covered this issue, many, many times, Tom. But the less that Foxconn does, the better the deal for Foxconn, at least per employee, and the worse the deal for the state of Wisconsin. Foxconn's not walking away from this deal. They got a great deal. We, the taxpayers, we're the ones that should be running away from this deal. And I, in no small part, Dom, hired a guy like Tony Evers. I cast my vote for him as well. Well, I wanted Tony to stand up and fight on Foxconn. And I'm not so sure that I'm convinced he was being wily or just confused on his prior stances where he said, well, you'll have to sue me. And then the next day, don't sue me. I'm not going to break any laws. And then I'm going to withdraw from the lawsuit. Oh, I don't have the power to withdraw from the lawsuit. What's wily about that? You come off looking like a rookie who doesn't know what the hell he's doing. I don't perceive any craftiness in the course he's taken lawsuits to date. Now, Josh Kaul has announced that the state of Wisconsin is withdrawing from two anti-Planned Parenthood, anti-abortion lawsuits. I'm happy to see that, but that seems more like a decision of the Attorney General than the current governor. Perhaps he consulted with Tony. Maybe I'll give Tony a little credit, if credit due there, but I'll have to research that topic. To date, I didn't see any wiliness. Come back with us tomorrow on the radio. Please tune in when more will be in studio with us.
If it's possible, would you let me know, am I under investigation?
Hell yeah, I would.
You wouldn't hire me to be a neurosurgeon.
Hell yeah, I would.
Would you say I have a plethora?
Hell yeah, I would.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. That means it could be you, your best man.